We've got one more department that is legal, and then we're gonna get into the workshop and do what we need to do.
We're on page 30 of your budget and page 6 of the agenda.
Are we
Mr. Sibley?
still in agreement to abolish this department?
Well,
That's my motion.
don't ever go last when we're tired.
I don't know. He's already off.
We just
I
had
was
some.
just
Yeah,
gonna
we
give
just.
everybody,
It's coming on.
Oh,
Cold now.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah,
it's
it did get
simple.
cold. Yeah.
there you go. Is this slow?
We'll watch Fight Club. Yeah. Why do that? We have that every Monday. Well, this Monday.
5?
Four.
Yeah, they asked for $4,400 overtime, and they removed $1,060 from part-time, and the other adjustments is contractual, it's actually his contract, based on his payouts for.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Well, that's pretty simple.
What's, I mean.
That's on his, there's two things on his, one based on his contract, that's what the yield adjustment up here, because he gets paid for 100 hours of vacation time if he wastes it, he always budgets that.
And that's how it was, that was how it always was.
Yes, yeah, but this is the adjustment about to make it correct. Took $1,060 out of over the overtime, that was, I'm sorry, part-time, and then they asked for a total of an increase of $4,400 in,
Overtime.
overtime. So if you pull those two, the first one's actually contractual, so if you pull those two together, the 160 and the 4,400 is about what? Yeah, 33.
So I have just one question, and it's not over these. Where do we capture any external legal fees that we have for?
There's two places. One, there's a small place in Mr. Sittler's budget, but then we also have what's called a liability and an on-job injury. So if it's actually a liability claim where there's a suit filed or it's going to be
Yeah.
filed, then we actually pay that through the self-insurance fund. And we can go over there right now. If you can just show it's right there. It used to all be paid out of workers' comp and liability and school claims, but about 2 years ago, I started looking at that, thought we probably need to start dividing attorney's fees out. So historically, they weren't, we started dividing them out about two years ago.
And has this been relatively stable?
It's been more, and since the schools is gone, it's been going down, and we have 1 year where it was really large, so that's when I started breaking.
How are we looking at this year?
Looking about
About the same.
but it's really hard to tell because, as I'm saying, the schools have fallen out, but at the same time, he's got to handle his runoff claims from the school, so
Yeah.
it's not.
But
out
we're
there.
not,
I haven't seen any significant.
I just
change.
want to, maybe this is just a little bit postured here, but it's not, I just want to make sure it's on record that we're not spending anything more for external fees this year or lately than we have been in.
I haven't seen a significant change. I can say one thing,
That's
Mr.
what I'm
Sittler
thinking.
seems to be more diligent about making sure he separates claims from this other legal. Whereas in the past, I always had an argument that they try to claim legal services over here for, I guess, preventative suit costs, which wouldn't actually be qualified for. Eric's much better about not trying to do that. So.
All right.
But the total doesn't seem to have changed.
that's a great point being at this one, because my goal is to have that number go down, because it feels like it's been 10 years. I've only been here 4 months now. I'm still trying to figure out whose responsibility and things of that nature. And it seemed like quite a bit of codes and tax sale stuff was being farmed out, and I don't know why. So that's coming back in-house.
Great.
Which, this all goes full circle to my 100% bump in one line item. is because of the internal work we're gonna start taking on.
And which one was that?
This will be on the, when y'all start discussing my line item stuff.
And that's because earlier they were arguing things over in your liability fund we don't think should have been. So Eric's actually moved back over here where I think it should actually be.
So, David, I'm just curious, because we agreed to a contract with Mr. Sittler for a set amount of money. This cost of living increase, is that, are we and I would ask this if it was any attorney, are we contractually obligated?
No, here's where we're at on
Do
Mr.
that.
Sittler's. In the past, Ms. Denon's, hers was tied to the general sessions judge, that's kind of where mine's tied out to. Mr. Sittler says, the one thing that it says is to make this amount last year plus the 100 days, plus I think it says, and I'll have to go back and look, I think it says that you guys will negotiate his cost of living, so what we've got in there right now is the same percentage of all.
As everyone else?
Yeah, I think he's actually.
But his contract states in.
And I'll have to verify.
And I would ask that for anybody,
I've
it's
got it
not just for
pulled up
Mr.
right here.
Sittler.
I think it
Yeah.
says that there, you guys will negotiate it for your cost of living.
It
wasn't
just
automatically
says the
gonna
county
Right.
in its sole discretion may increase.
It wasn't an automatic increase is what, and what Leah's was an automatic. And that's one thing the commission changed was not to make it automatic. It wasn't necessarily gonna keep on par with the judges.
But what he's.
That's what we changed.
What he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
requesting
yeah.
is-
Where it was not automatic.
Leah's wasn't
Right.
automatic,
That's what you
but
guys
it was
discretion.
infected.
And I would ask that for any, I don't
Unofficially.
want
Yeah, it wasn't in writing.
Well, let
Directed
me,
it.
let
was
me
a
clear on all the cost of living for everybody, because there is some
And
that
it
are
may have been
set.
her contract, I don't know.
The
I
general
don't think so. I
sessions,
think you're right.
the general sessions judge is set at 4% by statute right now, this year based on what it is. All the elected officials, you've got in raises that are above the required minimum, but there's a required minimum.
Okay.
My contract says I get the largest percentage raise of anybody, which would be the general sessions judge, that's what he said. And, which is the same as Lee's in the past. And then Eric's got a contract, his basically says, as he was reading, that you can pay him a larger amount, which means you could pay him the same or give him the cost of living like everybody else.
Well, we can pay him zero. It doesn't say there's a minimum.
Right, or I said give him the cost of living, pay the same as last year.
Oh, I thought you said the same as somebody else.
No, or the same as last
I
year, where you
mean,
could
like,
pay
it's
the
like
same.
here, we can give him 0% or 100, or,
Right, but his request was to get the same cost of living as everybody else.
Yeah, there's been no request for increase in anything other than everybody in my department getting the whatever cost of living
Exactly.
allowance.
Whatever.
But yeah, that is y'all's
So
discretion.
whatever would be blanket authorized for
Everybody.
other departments, you would ask the same?
That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
Right, and I was saying the same thing, Jerry, did you, it's anywhere from like all the other employees, 0 to whatever you approve.
So
When he was,
on this one, real quick, going back to other contracted services, so my understanding here is that your idea there is that you want to put 60,000 more into that, but you're going to more than make up for that in the fund, what was the fund that we were pulling
Or it's being
from?
pulled out of it.
OJI.
and, yeah, OJI, and
Okay.
also you haven't had a tax sale for a couple of years, so when they haven't had a tax sale, there's a lot of title work that's gonna be done on it, so
Yes.
it's actually kind of built up in that number too.
Okay,
Before, let's use the title work as an example, before the title work was getting done by other council, that council was paying their hourly rate plus whatever the rate of their title search people were to give you an all-encompassing bill, and it was, I think I can accomplish, would you say conservatively, 4 title searches to the one that we would farm out to another law firm. And then I'm directly over it, and you're already paying me anyway, so there's
There's another
no
point,
loss there.
there's another point about that, and I've talked to Eric. On the title search, it's supposed to be billed back when you sell them
Yeah.
also, and my understanding is, and I talked to the former law director, and I talked to Eric, I don't think that's been happening, but Eric's talked to the clerk of master, and I think there's a tax rate now.
can you tell us what OJI stands for? We're-
On the job injury.
On the job
In
injury.
Tennessee, a county government does not have to do workers' comp. We can do nothing, or we can do something in lieu of workers' comp. We've created, many years ago, our own on-the-job injury, which is, it does less coverage than workers' comp, so it costs less. And, so that's one of the options you have, and that's what this county does.
All right.
And we're self-insured too, so it goes through there versus buying it from a third-party insurer.
Okay. Any other questions for?
So you may see, and that's my point, you'll probably see when they do the tax sale, some additional revenue coming in too, because they weren't recouping all of the title search money needed, so you're gonna recoup
Correct.
that.
And it seemed to be very pick and choose. I'm wanting to get everything consolidated, do big lump sum, or not lump sum, lump lot sales, and just get this thing into something that rocks on every year on a consistent basis, and we just pull the trigger and go.
Great.
And COVID's kind of thrown your tax sales off.
Do you have a question?
Changing the economy, so that's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Everything else, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out, what do we, from the workshop standpoint? I guess I'll ask a question here because it sort of pertains here more often. But let's just assume in a hypothetical world that, so July 1, so let's say like June 15th, let's say that the county attorney started June 1st. Would it be anticipated that there'd be a COLA on July 1st? I mean, like, my question is like,
That's what we do all other employees.
so like in this case, Mr. Sittler I don't know when your first day was. December 20th?
December 21st, I think.
Yeah. And then Mr. Winery started when?
Middle February.
Okay. And so I'm just trying to understand, is that customary that like employees that are here?
That's customary, yes. That's what you're asking me, is in other words, most departments, if they hire somebody, let's say May or June, and they give 2%, 3, whatever percent raise to all the employees, they usually give it to that 42. Some of them
So
don't
even
do that.
they can be here one day and all of a sudden they get a,
Most of them do that. Now, some won't, but most do. And then also, even though you've set, we have all the budget sheets that work up the salaries and we work them up. If they're a statutory officer or under a private act, most of those have the option, as long as they're paying what's legally within the line item, they may distribute those raises a different way. And there's nothing legally that can be done to stop that either.
So we can't
As long as it's
benchmark
clean.
anything to say, I mean, you make some good points there. I mean, so you can't benchmark it to say, well, you have to have 1 year of service. Can we do something like that in the future? where-
I think we, I mean,
You can all budget on it.
like, we can
That's a
just do
question.
it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems,
You're not
it's
budgeting.
not fair to the person that, put in like 10 years of service, and then some guy just walks off the street, 2 days of service, and, well, he's gonna get 3, 4, whatever percent cost of living. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem right, because what if that person that just came in off the street doesn't stay as long as the guy, and then you
Yeah.
got a guy that's,
And Mr.
works.
Sidler himself just said a couple minutes ago, he feels like he's been here, 10 years, only
Yeah.
4 months, because a lot of learning going along with it. So I'm just, again, it's not who it is, it's.
No.
It's,
It's just a general
Yeah,
question.
it's just a
We've got
general,
several
like-
that'll say, well, we're proposing a 6% COLA, and us sitting here knowing full well, that's probably not gonna happen.
Oh, that's certainly not.
But that has been customary, but we can next year, or if you want us to, try to work up some kind of systematic way to capture those, but it'll take a while.
Mr. Hyde?
I can understand if you look at a position, a professional position, especially like the law office, you're not looking at the person that started at a certain time. You gotta get beyond that and look at the position. And the position is such that you're not going to get anyone of the quality of the people that we have unless you're paying what the market is
That's right.
that time. So don't look at the person, look at rewarding the
I mean, and
position.
that's the
Yeah,
same
but-
thing everywhere.
But we just brought, but to your point, we brought that person in at a certain salary,
4 months ago.
Yeah,
5 months
yeah.
ago. I get it.
or even 2, 3 months.
I mean,
It's
yeah, I just don't want to cause any kind
Yeah.
of disruption. You have animosity in departments. I mean, if you're running a department, whatever department it is, and you have someone that's been there 2 years, and then you got, like you said, someone
Well,
that
but
maybe
that 2
comes
years,
in
they
and-
would have gotten multiple.
Well, no,
was-
but like, just think how that two-year employee feels when someone comes in off the street at 2 or 3 months. They're like, wait a minute, well, shouldn't there be some kind of incentive? We're not rewarding people that have stayed with the county, and this is not against
And
Mr.
retention is a
Sittler.
problem.
Retention, we're sitting here saying retention's a problem, but we're rewarding someone that just, has only been here 2-3 months.
and this,
Recruitment.
It's,
when whoever negotiated the contract, I know the commission passed it, but specifically, and we just talked about it, separated, the previous law director her salary was tied to the judges' salaries. we specifically decided to separate that out, which is fine. I'm just now realizing, internalizing, my bad, that actually his salary is actually higher than the previous law director, which I didn't internalize that until reading this. And so now I'm just trying to understand, you know, Mr. Hyde, to your point, if it was a salary that was sort of set by statute or whatnot, that I would agree with you. But in this case, we negotiated a completely separate salary. I don't know about Mr. Weiner's, but I know with Mr. Sittler, it was a negotiated salary, and so I just don't understand why we would treat it the same.
I think I think that I see the argument here. Here's what I would propose. I think we're about to get into the workshop anyway.
Yeah.
And so and this is one like microcosm of it. So if we don't have any other questions do we have any other questions about these requests? And if we don't, let's just go ahead and get into it, and then we can return to this, which we certainly will.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's why I was sort of hesitating at first.
Any other questions here?
If I could just make one
Go
final
ahead.
comment, regardless of what you all decide to do with me as a contract employee, I would like to say that everybody else in my office is just a Sumner County employee. So I would ask that at least they receive whatever COLA you all decide to run with.
Got it.
Me, you do whatever you need to, that's fine, I can live with that. I just don't wanna see my employees suffer because of my contract.
Yeah, we get it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so, Mr. Long, you and I had this discussion while we were eating lunch. I would suggest, and I think you would agree, that as we work go ahead.
I think the first thing we need to go to that adjustment sheet and pick up those things that were left out. And then probably the way you usually approach it is go to those yellow salary increases and then cost of living.
Let's do, like, cost of living, if we do that in one fell swoop and then go back and check to see how we're doing on our,
But we need to add in those adjustments, it's for things like where Mr. Widener didn't have all of his, communication system in there, the radio system.
that's fine.
And we're gonna have the utilities.
That's fine, do that first.
That way you can find out where your base is.
Yeah, that's fine, do that first.
We can, and I can click, but there's only a couple that really makes a difference and all. Let's go to the top. Let's look, Sheriff already told me that was in there, so we move that, just copy that over and delete it.
Sheriff
Sheriff was
wasn't.
not EMS, okay, so copy EMS from here to here then. Because that means it was already in there and we might adjust it. You got one more, don't you?
I know, after eating lunch.
No, she don't.
Maybe just copy and
We
paste.
should run around this.
Yeah, just copy and paste and delete that. You don't need to read those ones. There, just copy, paste it.
That next one,
there. Okay, we just delete that. That shows us what adjustments we need, so we need to go over to the revenue and add in $172,406. It's under the, and the rest of it goes into sheriff and EMS. And then that, to get that, then we only need the utilities and we should be able to run it. It's right there. You can just hit plus and tie back at this point either way. Okay, then go back over here now real quick. And then these are the expenses we need to add in, and what I'm looking at right now is we need to put 37,078 in the sheriff, and this total right here needs to be increased to Mr. Widener's, because he didn't pick those up, and the sheriff didn't pick them up. I would just name a line on that, and we can divide the two later. We'll name it later, that's fine. Just copy those two. Go back over here. Mr. Widener's budget needs to pick up a total of, he's already got that in there, so we need to pick up that total, which is 72, 406, the same amount as the other.
And David, when we're done with this, are we gonna go back up to these were
Total
the,
sheets.
these were the radios? But, or when we're done with this, we're gonna go back to that front sheet and see what we're looking at.
We'll
and
make these
then-
2, 3 changes.
Yeah, because then I wanna see where we're at on the overall
That's how I'm gonna make it. Go back.
running and then capital.
Come back over here, and then, Jessica may write these down for you to make it easier if you get a pen. Come on down.
172, 406.
Oh, she's already got that. You already got it. The one down, let's do it right here. Probably like 3 or 4 things. This is the one we discussed. We took the 8% out of the increase on that, so we just need to pick up those insurance.
Can you blow this up just a little bit to make the numbers a little bit bigger?
Control.
Just plus, plus. There we go. That's helpful.
Now, this is what was in the budget, this is what we're saying we're gonna need, so let's go back and remove the 8% increases to come up with those numbers, and link it over. There's like 4 adjustments we need to make, and the reasons they're here now is because we got these so late. Some of these were like 2 days before the budget. This one we found out like 2 days ago. Yeah, I would just, go with that.
I think. We're gonna check that before we go. When we do this with the salary, we're gonna get 2.5, 3 out of it. Right off
Do
the
you
bat.
take the 8% out of that one?
No, we won't, but then we'll.
Yeah, let's take that, and go back over the later. Let's get it.
Really?
Where's the 8%?
We'll find it.
Huh? Oh, the ones that have the 8% make those zeros. Yeah, this makes them plus over.
And even doing that,
Plus.
where there's no talent. Like, I'm being super hard on ourselves here. We're gonna put a lot of pennies into debt
Okay.
service.
Now
That's almost back on where it used to be. It's not quite close.
this is the capture that 25% increase on your commercial insurance.
Last year, we moved almost 65% out of debt service.
Oh, and then
Really? Yeah, it was like 63.6%.
Jessica, how do you?
That was last year's budget.
How do you do that?
Which one? The ones on the right?
That's what I'm saying, on class commission policy.
I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do this. I got, I'm going to figure it out.
It wasn't good. We're not making this problem.
30, 30, 42.
But we're gonna be all right. It's just, and honestly, it's the employees who are suffering, because we're not gonna be able to give them much. We'll see what it is. This year, next year, we'll look better. You have pretty buildings, no tax rates, or salary increases picked up.
That's when she said we have to save it, let's go back to there. You already have enough in it?
It's just numbers. It's not personal.
Yeah, just put plus.
having a mass
Then we'll know.
No,
Then we'll know not too
no.
hard.
So we're just not
And
paying
I-
for insurance anymore. That's what I got you. Go on down here.
Yeah,
These are the adjustments where we want to add to Was everybody fine with the utilities picking up 75% of what the Rutherford County building costs?
I mean, yeah, it's just a,
It's your best, it's basically
just a-
not gonna be open until
and
January.
the rationale was it's a similar sized building, we're only gonna be using 3 of the 4
3
floors.
fours. We're only using,
More than that.
we're using a little more than 3 fours.
Only one floor.
So we're using about 80% of
Let's
it.
go to 80.
But it,
3/4, it's not for the whole.
but it's not for the whole year, it's about half, but you're gonna have some electricity in there when you're working
I mean,
on it.
let's- it's-
I think it's 75%.
Then that's fine. I
Start
mean,
taking over the
we're-
rules in October.
We're haggling on it, I mean.
You
it's
just wanna do
fine.
80%?
Let's just do 80, just to be like super hard on ourselves and make sure we get this
Go back
right.
to the other one, change to 80, and I'll screenshot them and get it over here.
Yeah,
These right here should have 0.75, just change those all to 80.
I've gotta get up there and look at this. Freaking see.
You got 2 grids up there. And I'll screenshot them.
You got what? Trying to clear out work.
I will note, finance department is saving us a lot of money by doing this way.
I don't.
I mean, because this is not easy to do on Excel, just pick the budget.
Well, I'll get the account line. Let's start
What
it at
would you do?
792. So this one you're gonna add
There's all sorts of
257,
accounting
141 to
software
it.
out there,
Yeah.
but it's like,
The
80,000
next
a
one,
year.
nothing
It's
on
an
that
FTE.
one. Going down here, this one you're gonna add, 108,385. The next one down, the 245 one, you're gonna.
Wait, where'd that one come from?
That is probably, that's the natural gas on that building.
Oh, okay, got it.
This one, you're going to add 39,000.
And you're just applying that same 80% rate?
Yeah.
Got it.
And then go down here, and then the moving cost is estimated for things not covered under the bond and stuff's 110,000, so we're gonna go ahead
But
and.
on that,
Well-
our gas cost, it's pretty low.
Less than
Along
that.
the lines of water, that's a lot.
We'll look at it when we get down through there too, when we get back, cause it's still pink. Relocation, 110, okay. Let's go back to the salary adjustments. Or adjustment sheets, and let's see. This is already in your ARPA as a match, that's a revenue and expenditure we're gonna add in, we won't affect your bottom dollar, so we'll add it later when you're not here most of the time. This is the hazardous Beth, to get rid of it on our books, we need to add that. Yeah, capital projects, make it in pink and we'll come back and get it, because they want to do general fund first, so this adjustment still needs to be handled. To make your capital work, but we'll handle it, okay? Same thing, we're showing in your ARPA, the match, that's just the revenue and expenditure flowing through, won't affect your bottom dollar, so we'll pick it up later. This is the approval. And then this one, we just need to go over to the ARPA sheet over here and put in 12.212, and it'll correct itself all across the system.
Is that the burning it down by half?
Well, yeah, that's the burnt down by half, but we didn't realize the sheriff paid the ARPA on part-time at the time.
Ah, yeah.
We found out later, so if we put .12 there and .12 here, it'll correct.
Yeah,
We
okay.
just put the percent out and have the other stuff hidden, so we can set it right. And now let's go back to the bottom, make sure there's no other adjustments, I think it's all of them that I knew about. That's it, and then let's go to the general fund summary here.
All right, how are we looking?
It was already bad. Yeah, this probably needs to come down by about 2, or probably pretty near 3.
$3 million.
Pretty near.
That's what we need to come down 3 million.
Pretty much.
So let's do it this way. Let's start with this. On COLA, here's one thing I would like to, we can talk about it, but I just think it would be interesting to see what it plays out, and this is gonna be pretty draconian, but instead of 6%, here's what I would propose. We see if potentially we can build up from there, but let's find out. 1.5% for all of the employees who had already the ARPA built into it. So we won't burn any more, we won't take any ARPA hazard, risk away. But instead of instead of 6% for them, we go 1.5 for everybody who received ARPA. For people who did not receive ARPA.
Well, let's look at one question here. The consolidated dispatch, we have a interlocal agreement, and they've asked for 2. And the interlocal agreement, and that's something I've mentioned to Eric, and he's looked at it, and I think both of them. Okay, but they've looked at it. The way the interlocal agreement reads is that the budget is done by that committee, and then they present it to you guys. Unless you're getting out of the interlocal agreement, I think there's a lot of questions about.
So we're locked into it?
Yep, they're basically gonna get.
Hold that one
2
for-
plus the ERP, plus the ARPA they got earlier, unless you guys negotiate with that board or city or however you want to do it. It's made up of the county mayor and the city mayor.
Just highlight that one for now.
How are they able to dictate what we have?
Is that
Because you
Is
guys
that Mr.
joined an
Guthrie?
interlocal agreement.
Who is it? Which one we're talking about?
Well, right now, the ECC, you have an interlocal agreement, you pay 32%, and the city mayor and the county mayors actually determine the budget they send over here. By that agreement. Yeah, and I got Eric to look at it.
Well, they're time to revise that agreement. then.
Let's start with that, let's see if we can make some progress. Everybody else, go to 3.5. I would just drag and drop, there you go. let's see how we look.
You need to pull them out, looks like about another 1.7
So let's,
probably.
here's where here's another one that I might think this is me suggesting we look at.
I mean, you originally said 2% across the board.
You might wanna look at those other adjustments where the people ask for more.
Sheriff's office.
The sheriff's additional employees.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Let's
Somebody-
go to the sheriff's office.
Well, and John had mentioned pulling out one of his
Yeah.
custodians he requested, that's still in there too.
So let's just go, go ahead.
I'd say change it to 2.
Just
Yeah,
go 2
that's-
across
that's
the
it.
board?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's
we're
look-
going through the exercise. We
All right, let's look at it. Let's
Well,
look at it.
I would want to keep the,
Let's look at 2.
I would want to keep the ARPA people 1.5 and then do everybody else 2. Let's just start there.
And I'm not disagreeing, but help me again on what why the difference.
Because the ARPA,
We got like
I mean,
15%
they've been
last year.
effectively had 7, 8, 10% increases year over year because they're getting the ARPA one-time money burned into it.
But you may.
We're trying to make it
go to
whole,
this line
so
right
So
here,
I
shows
mean, it's not
about-
fair
the
that
tax
they've
increase.
gotten
Oh,
that.
I'm not,
Yeah, that
I'm not,
one.
disagreeing.
I
I'm
don't
just
think
trying to.
Yeah,
there's-
that's
They
the,
were getting,
Hey, Matt, this line right here
Raised
has,
because of
right
ARPA.
here.
what's that?
This additional, in addition to cost of living is almost $2.2 million by itself. That's why I'm saying you may want to visit it next. Where like the sheriff's asked for more people and,
Well, I mean, let's see what, I mean, because it's so easy to do, like, let's go through the exercise, I mean.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens at 1 and 2.
okay. let's go
1
back
and
to
2.
check.
one and
Okay.
two.
1 and 2.
Sounds even better.
1 and 2.
There was anybody that's 3.5, change them to
That's
2.
just an easy way to
Oh, I'm
start.
sorry, they changed that over to
We
1.
can increase this.
Because we may find that this doesn't really get us nearly as far as we want, and if not, then we need to look other places, and if it does.
And I
Matt,
think you
could
can look at
I,
the non-salary also.
could I ask the attorney a question? Because I have a legal problem in my mind with this, that we can take some employees that were funded a certain way and give them that amount of salary increase, and take another employee that's funded another way and give them more. What do you think about that, Steve?
I have to preface this with saying that this is just my opinion, and I'd have to look into it, but I think depending on the job classification, as long as you have a justifiable reason for it, I think that'd be sufficient. Would you agree with me on that?
I
David?
agree. I think the commission can pay anything justifiable they want to. Now, there is some,
So you think we could go and pay the sheriff's deputies 2%, pay EMS workers 1%?
I think you can, I think the only.
Because that's what we did with
And they've
ARPA.
done that before in the past.
gave-
The only issue you've got is you've got statutory officers. If they don't agree with your budget, they've got 30 days to petition you for additional money. So really, there's nothing requiring you to pay them the same thing.
And I mean, I would argue that we
As long as you're not
just,
doing some discrimination, but basically by saying you've got all these additional raises back here, so we're not gonna give you a bigger one this year, I don't.
and here's
Because
the
you could, if
thing.
you was arguing that way, then back when they gave like the sheriff's administration employees all these 15%, then collectively, we didn't give anybody that's administrative
Right.
through the rest of the county 15%. They got a huge raise.
That's exactly my
I'm not-
rationale here. Because at the end of the day, when we were calling them, which was always bogus, but when we were calling them hazard pay,
It wasn't.
like, we can no longer do that by law because this,
We have to call it retention.
we would have to call it retention pay. And I mean, if it's gonna be extended year over year over year, it is
It's a salary.
a salary increase. And we have they have experienced a 15 or greater % salary increase already, well above what other departments have.
And a lot of the salary increases varied last year because when we did the salary survey, you had a lot of employees paid under market and some paid over market. And that's kind of what you run into too. So you had varying amounts last year. You had a minimum of, was it 3.5% last year? And then if you were way under market, you could make more, but then there was a capped out dollar limit on that too. So if you were a third off your market, there was a capped dollar, but there were still varying amounts. So really, the commission kind of, and the budget committee determines what the employees make, as long as they're not doing some kind of discrimination on a maybe
Right.
protected class or something. You said, I'm not gonna give females big raises of males, you have an issue.
But that's not what we're
But
doing.
I think there's something like issue, I think the only caveat at all is, some of these departments have rights to petition, but they've always had that right. So if you gave everybody a 4% raise, the sheriff was unhappy, then he could petition you in court within 30 days, and you would have to, you'd win or lose the case. Basically, you'd have a lawsuit.
I understand that, but we have so many offices that are not constitutional. They wouldn't have any rights
That would be,
whatsoever.
EMS don't have a right.
Right.
We're
But,
talking
you know,
about-
I just wanna know legally, that, because it's a little unusual.
I think we're fine unless Steve,
Yes.
Eric knows of something I don't know.
I agree with David's analysis here, as long as you're not doing it for some discriminatory reason.
Against a protected class.
Class, protected class, that's, protected by.
Like if you said everybody over 40 was getting a smaller raise, you
Like,
couldn't.
yeah,
do that.
age discrimination, sex discrimination, national origin discrimination, racial discrimination, all that stuff would be a problem, but, I think the way we're proposing
Even,
is.
just like places give performance raises, if you guys come by and say, hey, we see performers or non-performers, I think you could actually do that. You may have a lot of arguments, but being illegal, no.
I mean, that's a legitimate justification to pay people who are more productive, more money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works in business.
Yeah.
We
How the real world works.
We did vary in one year based on how much you made, if you made both so much. That's what it was. One year we did people over 50 made so much, and people under 50 percentages, because people under 50 got, if you made less than 50, you got a bigger cost of living over here too. So this has happened.
We already did.
Yeah,
Hey, so-
we've done it several times before.
So,
Go ahead.
what was, when you say that, you're talking about the differences in the salary survey, was that a benefit survey or just salary survey?
It included both in there, they didn't calculate both. The only thing I had a concern with, and this is gonna be with any of them, the consultant works with the department head, so everybody's trying to sell their case, and I
So this
can
was,
see something I think maybe people put things in there to kick up levels. Do I think the salary survey itself was?
so this is a
It
salary
could be good,
survey
yes.
where the employees were dictating their own salary for the survey?
Basically, what you do is you come by
What?
and they come by with the job description, the department head does. You tell all the person's duties, they compare it with like businesses and counties. Is that gonna be perfect, anybody does it? No, but that's a very good marker. The problem you get is every department head is gonna pull for their employee, which is that's
That's
always
right.
true. But my other concern is I could take, say, I look at Jeremy, I say, I don't think he makes enough, so I'll go in there and I'll add all these really fancy things that he does that he really doesn't do. And unless that salary survey person knows that job enough to know that's gonna be a problem. But I mean, they fill out questionnaires, and we've got all those, but nobody goes into your office and knows what you do.
So-
That is an inherent problem with the salary survey.
So I'm gonna go back to the ARPA thing real quick, so, to make sure I understand. So there's groups of employees who, through ARPA funds, got larger increases in last year or 2 years ago.
The sheriff's department came by and they were all given a 15% raise, administrative and everybody. So was,
Now, they didn't call it a raise,
it was called a COVID-19, so.
But
but we're now gonna make it that.
Yeah.
well, see, you take the money away.
Yeah,
'cause
you
it
take the
doesn't-
money and they
got
get
it.
a-
That's right.
a
EMS
decrease.
got it, ECC,
Yeah.
and
So,
EMA
yeah,
later
as
came
long
by
as
and
we
they were giving it
can
later.
explain something like that, I'm not gonna, I am about to put you on the spot, so forgive me. But I noticed on your salary, I can't remember, like a couple years ago, you got like a large increase.
It was a salary and then when we negotiated.
Last year.
So that was a contractual.
It was a contractual negotiation,
Okay.
and also, if you looked, I was paid through two lines, I used to get paid for vacation time if I wanted to.
Okay.
To make it clear, we abolished that and added it into my total, so
Gotcha.
now I don't use my vacation, it rolls into sick time because my concern is it could look like that I'm purposely not taking vacation to get paid, so I got rid of that.
Gotcha.
It wasn't up as much as you say, I just really didn't want to deal with it. Honestly, yes, that was a salary or a.
So no ARPA funds,
contract.
we just.
Oh, no.
So
I didn't get 50%
Mr. Hyde, did that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
So I would like to play this out. Let's see what happens.
Do you want to go through the other?
Well, it's just, where are we at now?
You probably need to pull about $1 million more off.
So if we have two scenarios, if we go, what was it, 1.5, 3.5, we need to pull 2 million still, a little less. And if we do this, we need to pull 1 million, a little bit
About
more.
1 point, right now you need to pull about $1 million, the other way about 1.7-ish maybe.
So either way, we're gonna have to, unless we wanna give nobody any raises, we're gonna have to.
We gotta keep going.
Usually
So
go-
let's go look at that.
We usually go look at this line here next because that's what people ask for. And then usually non-salary because there's some money down in there too. Like there's nonprofits ask for more money, some
Well, the
departments have more
libraries asked for
money.
4% straight across.
And library had $300,000.
That was-
Well, so, yeah, let's do that on the live. Well, go ahead, Jerry.
Now, can you go back, please, to the other spreadsheet that we were,
The salary one or
the one where we're looking at our differences? No,
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so my contact's a little blurry here. So what are we aiming for here? That 1.1 to be 0?
This right here needs to go the other direction, about $500,000 versus that negative. This number right here, it's how much it's changed your disparity since last year. And over the years, because we're conservative on revenue, the economy's been good, and you've had, any budget decides you can't legally go over, so you're gonna have budgetary turnover. This number right here was a little high last year, and we're probably still gonna be positive, but my concern is it probably needs to be at about $500,000 less for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's more economic concern than in the past, and then number two, there's more inflation. So if there's more inflation, there's a potential to burn more of your budget. If they burn more of your budget and you have this disparity the same size, there's a bigger potential you're actually gonna decrease this number instead of
Well, when
increase.
the sheriff's department alone just burned off 300,000 extra.
Well, so I think
food
there's-
costs.
I think there's-
I think it really needs to be
I
taken by
don't,
the media.
am I looking at this? I'm sure, I guess I am looking at it wrong. So this is being in parentheses here, that these are negative numbers, right?
Yep.
So we're wanting that negative, I can't see it, 565?
Yeah.
It's 5.7, it needs to be 5.2 or less, it needs to be there.
So we need to add money to it?
No, you need to bring this number here needs to be about, no more than like negative 5.2 would be a good aim by the month.
Which would make the
About $1 million
difference.
less on the expense or a million more.
It's gonna
Oh,
flip
so-
that 560.
So we need next year's budget to be $1 million less than what this year's is.
You need to be $1 million less the disparity between revenue and expenditures. not
Yeah,
less.
this is next year's.
This is based on how much this number right here
Right.
changes from here to.
We need to shave about $4 million off the
It's-
budget that was
it's-
requested.
Yeah.
These are estimated revenues, and right now we're looking to be.
Okay,
Budget-
so we want W 262 to be, I
Let
can't see
let
what
me
the cursor
explain
now.
exactly what that number is. That number for your unassigned is the difference between your unassigned revenue and expenditures. Because you have a pretty large budget and you can't exceed it, you're gonna have some unspent dollars no matter what. So if you go up to this budget, look at the appropriation size. When you take in percentages, you're talking millions of dollars, okay? $100 million, okay? Let's say everybody spends 95% of their budget, which they usually don't quite hit that. That's $5 million. So if you can get, it's usually more than that. And then also our revenues are conservative. So, if you can get that gap below 5.2, you're probably gonna be okay. Would it even be nicer to be even lower? Yeah, but I don't know if that's realistic. But the thing is,
So what was that 121 and 114 we were just looking at?
those are your appropriations in the budget right now. This is actual expenditures estimated this year, appropriated this year, and appropriated next year. And there's a huge variance here, more than usual, because there's a lot of ARPA money that was appropriated, not spent. The water line, the sewer, the buildings, the broadband, and then also, this year's bigger than usual too, because there's $10 million in there for the 386 overpass, bypass. There's a lot of
So
stuff
even
in
though
there.
that's $7 million lower, that's not really an apples to apples?
Well, it is if you go to this number here, go down to the bottom. This will be the difference between your unassigned change, we think this number, the revenues and expenditures are going to make this number change. That's the difference between its revenue and expenditures and last year's budget. That's this year. I think that number is too high for the coming year because of two reasons. You've got more economic uncertainty, and then the number two issue is you've got a lot of pressure on inflation. Well, when you've got a lot of pressure on inflation, what's gonna happen during the year? People's going to do more interbudgetary transfers because they don't have money, and that, say you usually have a spend of 92%, you may get a spend of 95%. If you got to spend a 95%, that savings number goes down, which means you got a bigger potential of actually hitting this number right here and start taking money out of your reserves, which is something you want to avoid if at all possible, is taking money out of that reserve.
So let's keep going.
So I think really realistically,
Are
you
you
want to
tracking?
pull that down to about $1
that's
million.
fine. I'll,
If you can pull $1 million more off your expenditure.
yeah, I got that part, I just don't understand how that matches with these numbers, but go ahead, we're good.
Are you worried we're not gonna make the maintenance effort with that deficit?
No, I'm just trying to, I'm
He's
just, to me, a negative number is like, that means it's a good thing.
No, the negative number means revenue minus expenditures is the minus of the expenditures. So it's a
We're
deficit.
operating deficit.
Okay,
This one's
so
worse
we
than that.
basically had to use 5.7 out of reserves for this year.
That was what you had to use to balance your budget, but
Okay.
in any given year, your average spend is 92% or less than your budget. Your budget was over $100 million. So you're gonna have money coming back in, and then also usually, our revenues are pretty conservative, we usually build in more revenue. But this coming year, I'm more concerned that we need to pull that number down for two reasons. One is, economic uncertainty and more inflation. Now, I would say even lower, but you do have a strong reserve. You really hate to just exaggerate how bad it's gonna be. But I think your best case scenario is
We don't even know about it.
to bring this down to $1 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
So if that number is 0, that means we're,
Same place you were last year.
Awesome.
The only difference is in revenue expenditure. But you've got more uncertainty this year, and you've had a longer period of inflation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And you have to overrate expenses because that's the legal maximum amount. If you match the dollar, people won't see your budget legally.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's,
You're gonna have vacancies.
so are we gonna, so let's keep playing this out.
I would recommend going and looking at this number right here first, because you've got a big dollar figure.
Hold on, so where are you at, David?
I would recommend looking at this first, because you've got a pretty big dollar figure down through here. Just to look at, that's where the sheriff's got their extra positions. I would recommend going to departments that have any, and the mayor one here won't be touched because the mayor has a minimum statutory salary. This plus this makes that minimum statutory salary.
Let's go after the big numbers first. I think the
Sheriff.
biggest one is probably the
Go
sheriff.
after low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
The sheriff's got the most new employees.
Let's go to the sheriff's first.
And he's got 5 new deputies, is it a lieutenant? And
Yeah.
a IT. The other 5 are actually, so there's 7 employees outside the new.
So here's one that I think we can throw out there pretty quick.
IT.
IT,
Okay.
like, I mean,
Are we in the sheriff's?
we're in the
Yeah.
sheriff's
IT?
IT, yeah.
Is there any, so, just cut that one, zero that guy out. And then, let's see what happens if we cut 3 of those,
Deputy, yes.
of the deputies, not the ones for the courthouse.
Is that what he's hiring for?
No, he's hiring 10, 5 for the courthouse and 5 on the road. So, let's cut out 3 from the road and give him 2. And see, what we said was no extra, and I did understand that we all talked about understanding that we would need more for the,
What about the lieutenant?
oh yeah, the lieutenant.
There's a lieutenant in there too.
I mean,
Yeah, he said the lieutenant ones is just because it's confusing.
That's the brand new SROs.
No, it's just one.
No,
that's for one-
there's a specific line under
For lieutenant.
yeah, there's one
Yeah, there's
for,
one for, but this one right here though is, where basically this individual was working as a correction officer. If they make less money, he's went into as a deputy. The deputy's a certain number of years with the county makes more, so they give them credit for all current full-time years. That's what that difference is. Which is pretty reasonable.
that actually seems reasonable.
Okay. Let's go
And
on
that's not big fish there.
Let's go down to that lieutenant position. It's on down, there it is.
Yes.
I think that's one that,
Yeah, we're trying to.
you
get
asked
that
for a
new-
lieutenant and 5 deputies, we're taking a lieutenant, and gonna try for 2 deputies, and let's see what we look at when we remove this. Zero that one out. And
Did we take out the IT one?
Yes.
we took out IT as well. Now,
So he's really just got the 2 extra deputies.
it's, well, and the 5 for the
5
courthouse.
is courthouse, it's a
Which,
lot.
which we,
I was like 3.
I mean,
No, take your out.
it was 5 for the
Your move
courthouse.
30.
Okay.
You have to be in mind for this. Well, that's because the cost of living changes, so that's changed that much.
Let's make the
Yeah, that's the court officer.
Those are the court officers, we gotta,
Now let's go back
those
to
are,
the front
those are
sheet.
the ones that, like, we're gonna
But
need
this
for the
is
courthouse.
No, that's
currently
not.
certified.
Oh, yeah, that's, those,
No, that's,
that was where he's saying based on an AG opinion. Currently, they
you go from the
pay.
blue shirts to the full.
Oh,
Right
that's
now, they're
right.
paying them like security guards, but they really need to pay them as certified officers, because
I
they
mean,
said
that's
they
not a
require
statute.
certified officers. Well, they said it was an AG opinion. The thing about an AG opinion, you don't really have to do it, but the question is, if you get sued, they're gonna use that AG opinion.
What's, I mean, what's the,
Hard.
what are we, where are we looking at right now? What are we looking like?
42.
No, what are we looking like on the
On the
overall?
front sheet.
Let's see where we're at.
Nowhere near where we need to be.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah, you're about $700 off. You may want to look at,
Do you want me to count
Nonprofit.
county buildings? and
Oh, well.
count that money?
oh, you take the one out county buildings.
I don't know which departments, but you know, I think we need to look at vehicles.
Well, I think, here's one that I think is quick,
There are
pretty
two.
quick. What about that 4% across the board for the libraries?
Let's take that
It
off.
got changed too, didn't it?
Not yesterday.
Not yet, then that
We're
was,
gonna
that's
change those with everybody else, yeah.
Oh,
No, not the employees, the
The
operations.
salary.
the
Oh,
opera,
yes.
because they added 4% to like everything.
And how about this, the sheriff has $300,000 for software, how about we take it out of general, move it over to capital?
well, yeah,
Well, yeah, then we're
definitely
gonna,
need to do that.
we do, but that's just because we're gonna have to deal with this on capital
Well, I mean,
too.
capital's, one time, and that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's- all
We
right,
had that
that's- that
300,000 in his budget,
Makes
it's
sense.
permanent.
That
Let's
works.
take that,
That's
any
right.
capital
That's
cost.
That'll
right.
also help this fund, and you can deal with capital at one time.
We'll have to deal with that separately, but,
Let's
all
do
right,
it.
that makes sense. So that'll be $400,000 more right there.
For the
That's
soft-
gonna help a bunch of your difference.
That's gonna make a big difference, those two
We'll get you close,
things.
Rado.
This is
Hey, which one is that?
David, what kind of impact will we have if the legislature gives us money for positions in the schools?
Oh, if
And
it's-
we've already funded.
That means this- if it's the way it works, we get the
Over
money
$3
direct,
million.
Get about
that
$300
means
back.
that you're going to have all that money to deal with something else. It's gonna be quite
We
significant.
assume we don't.
It's probably, we can go look at the cost of those.
Will that affect what you're doing there?
Not right now.
That'll be a revenue source coming back into us.
Next year.
Not even if you're replacing the money, I understood if you already had that position, you would not have to, you could fund those positions out of there.
That's what we need to find out, what the requirement is on that. Is it permanent too, is another question.
It is.
Well, they said it was, and that it would be, if you already had a position in every school, that you could fund it that way.
So basically, so if we do that, then it's gonna free up a lot of money in your general fund that you can use for something else or just leave in there for now.
I mean-
Well, and I'm saying, I think we
We're
need
not
to
solving
bolster
that.
that, including high schools, but there may be some there that we could recoup.
Yeah, I think there's a whole bunch you could recoup.
Well, if you recouped it
Yeah.
100%, I mean, 52
Well, we can show you
SROs
what it
times about
costs.
60,000, about $3 million.
We can show you what the total is we
Well,
actually
we've
provided.
got a plan for it, we can't.
Yeah, we can't assume that. I mean, I
just
don't
have
think
to
we
go-
should.
We need to take
What
that
was
out of
the
the
timing
equation.
on that?
We don't know.
They don't know.
We'll see, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
something we just
we
need
have
to
to,
move.
we have to grow
That's
with
not
what
part
we
of the
got.
If that happens, that will help you with next year's also.
Next year, correct.
Now, I
It'll help
do
you with all this
think,
inflation.
now, this brings up an interesting point. This brings up an interesting point though, Mr. Hyde. And I'm not saying we want to do this, but on the, when we're talking about making departments pay for their services rendered, like, there's, I mean, I think there's an argument that the schools should already be paying for the SROs. I mean,
Well, that may be, but we're gonna get the school budget anyway, and this is nothing. It's gonna blow us out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh, we need to look at the
So-
school's revenues, what you're, what we.
Yeah, that's
Let's
it.
keep going on this though.
Yeah, we're getting
close to the
sidebar.
Let's keep going.
Can you go to that software? Did you already take that off and put the capital? Okay.
All right, so where are we at now?
Let's look at the, let's figure out the best way to get this thing back 4%.
I've got $145,000 I can find for you right now.
Is this the library?
They moved everything around and moved the
Command
system.
vehicles for EMS.
Look at the total increase for the library, that's
We
what we need to
rejected the
look.
planning.
Now, your libraries did have several non-salary increases too, that's why they were up.
That's what you're talking about. They moved
Oh, yeah, I wanna remove that 4% across the
Go, well,
board.
let's look at the library first, go hit the summary.
Okay.
Let's see how much they're actually
So
up.
just stick to that.
And then we kind
They
of-
were up a lot.
Okay.
They were like
Well,
300,000.
if some of it's salary, you might want to look at that first, and then figure out what's the remaining.
What are we going to?
in there.
Libraries.
Going across.
Yeah, that was.
They're going across, going to see the percent. They're up 10%. Let's go over here and look at their salary sheet, because I think we're missing one. Go and see, what was their total of yeah, they asked for $55,000 in addition to cost of living. That's new part-time and other stuff. You guys wanna leave that in there? That's a big portion of that, increase in the libraries.
I thought she said also that she put 4.
There was 4%.
She did, but the problem is she moved from, here's the problem we run into with their budget. They had a system-wide one, and now they've divided it back out, so it's hard to see if they spread it all over the place. So I think what, if you remove, I think right now, maybe the easiest way to do it is we go over there and we find out the total bid for all their non-salary, you know, for each library.
And just put it from
Find out
last
what
year.
4% is and just remove.
Yeah, that's right.
They had those systems, just remove an item and or decrease an item by that, and then they can come back and fix it. Because right now they've got it so moved around, nobody can find it.
Does that makes sense to me? So you multiply the whole thing by 4%,
Because
subtract
they
that out
went
from
to
the
a
total.
system and back, so they moved
Yeah.
stuff all over the place. So pull like on each one of them, like, is that Hendersonville or which one? Gallatin's non-salary is a total of 148,575, and she said she increased what, 4.9%?
4%.
4%.
So 4% of that would actually, so we actually need to have 96% for what for is.
We've already pulled back the COLA, right?
Well, this is not.
This is not,
She
she
did it on
applied that for
purpose.
everything.
So if we go up here and it's how much, 148, 575, and
Point being,
0.96 should be that,
it was a,
minus.
they're asking for $300,000 more than last year, period. That
Well,
doesn't include, that's after they
No, I know.
pulled the money back from the
Yes, no, no,
consolidated
I know.
system.
You gotta
I know.
just, you
And
gotta go
260 or
148,
70 of that was just the one library.
575.
Is what?
It was Hendersonville.
Yeah, I know.
Divided by.
So-
I agree.
It was, I was like,
We're
over
we're
$300,000
coming-
increase.
We're coming back to that.
Yeah.
We gotta deal with
Now,
that.
now, a lot of that was replacing people who they had lost, to be fair. So, because those were, because Hendersonville lost the most up to the central office. So,
Well, here's, okay, so.
No, but see, that was, there was a total of $500,000.
oh, no, I know, I'm tracking.
We got,
Oh, I'm tracking for the, I mean, for the whole thing, you're right.
They already
take
capped it
$59,000
So, no, I'm
and they
not
wanted
just-
$300,000.
And the whole budget,
so-
you're 100% right. I'm talking
Subtract-
about like he was talking about Henderson.
subtract 59.43 off that item right
They
there.
gave up the lion's share to the 200,000 because.
And market
saying-
Yeah, but that
You
doesn't-
guys good at that, man? We're gonna take
What's that?
59.43 from that line item. That'll take 4% off that library. We go down to the next one, let's just do it the same way, it's the easiest way, then they can come back and adjust the lines. Make it painful, let me know what we did. Find a non-salary, non-multiply 4%.
How much total is this gonna get us? I mean,
Not a lot, but you're gonna look at their salaries when you get the money, because they got 7,000 in salary. 213, 184 times 0.04 is, what was the total weight? I'm sorry. Thing's not the best thing for this. 184 times 0.04 is $8,527. You take out somewhere. $527. Okay, let's go down to the next one.
Well, I missed yesterday's library, I had to leave. What was Hendersonville's
they got-
reasoning for more employees?
they got back, so when they gave up.
$4,178.
they lost maybe two to the central library system, so those were coming back to the Hendersonville library. Now, what was the
You better
intention? I think you did bring this up.
I'm so writing it down.
I was gone, so.
Was that
Then you guys, I think you
the
did.
Hendersonville directors paid more than the other directors. And so, now my argument was, well, they do a lot, her argument was, well, they do a lot more business, and then you said, well, so does Gallatin.
Okay,
So if you're gonna do that, then
$140.
Gallatin and Hendersonville should be basically the same.
34,607 times.
That was actually.
I understand
If you look at
Hendersonville.
Henderson does over 50% volume than all the rest of them combined.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Gallatin's not,
Definitely.
wasn't, it was like wasn't a close second.
And I'm fine with the salaries because of that. What I thought, the rest of the money looked a little bit out of whack.
I think that was-
$300,000, the whole thing, I mean, 'cause that's over the 200, it's a $500,000
That was-
difference.
What was the reasoning for that request?
It was crazy, she went 4%, that's what we're undoing right now, she said 4%,
Well,
and
they
4% to every
money
line.
back from the consolidated.
$1,384.
And then the rest of
You
it-
guys need to look at ag, you need to look at ag extension and the non, and the
That's on top of
rest
it.
On the library, what was go back to the 55,000.
That was for part-time and other things outside of cost of living.
Mainly part-time.
Mainly more part-time, but that's for all over the place.
More part-time.
More than they have.
That sounds very familiar to the amount of money that was equivalent to opening the library on Friday. That's
So-
very
That is
close
what
to
they're
that
doing.
figure.
Yeah, that's what I was getting, was that the
And we-
request?
We haven't approved that. I mean, it's,
But this is
That's
spread
not-
among all five
are we,
libraries.
is this opening up?
Well, why don't we
five days a
go,
week?
no, let's just go to that yellow sheet, look, and we can show you what they are. We actually got sheets marked that show what they are.
Well,
I thought they
I think we ought to
printed something in that
stipulate
after
that
that.
this is not something that's gonna tie us down to another day, because this is not a year we can do that.
Well, your other problem is anything you give this library, if you increase it this year, you might as well plan to give it to them forever. They
Now, I
got-
know, and that's why we
Well,
don't.
I'm saying
libraries
you
had
wanna-
MOE?
Yes, you wanna look at this 55 and make sure that's what you want
Well,
to
so
do.
zero out that 55.
Yeah, let's,
85,
and see how we work.
28 times
Zero out the 55.
0.04 equals $3,221.
I didn't know libraries had MOE.
They do if you wanna continue to be part of the state system. If you don't, then you're gonna lose books and all that.
Okay, I didn't know.
I mean, look, I mean, this isn't
there's another
huge,
one.
this isn't
Libraries
huge
are MOE.
numbers.
Let's go to
So I
the-
feel like we need to get,
But,
Libraries are
but the
MOE.
lower we can drop this, then we can go back to that
Well,
one
they
and
want
two.
4,500 more
I mean,
part-time
that's-
personnel here. You want to
that's
start
what I like.
eliminating these? These are requests for increase.
Which one's these, I'm sorry?
Anything in yellow is brand new money.
that's Gallatin?
Is this library?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Where-
zero that.
My question is, you have the libraries, I understand, just 2 years ago, they went to this consolidated system and they took all these money from the libraries and put it into this consolidated system. I saw where they had already pulled that money back
Uh-huh.
to zero it back out. Now it's $200,000. What we saw yesterday was it's 300,000, forget the system ever existed. We just basically are getting $300,000 in new funding requested. Forget the system. That's new.
Sort of,
That's where
it's
the
sort of
problem.
a fair comparison, but there's two things that need to be minused off of that. They gave them around $90,000 for cost of living raises after the budget was set. So that'll put them, what, at 210?
And the salary.
And then the salary, that's in the salary survey. And then also IT moved about, what was the amount she gave me? $51,000 over there, so the 51 plus the 90 makes 140. So you need to take that 320 minus 20, so they got about 180 now.
Okay, so the real cost we're looking at is 180.
180,
Still,
which is this 55 and 4% on the line.
is that opening up Henderson 5 days a week? I mean,
I
is
have
that-
no idea what it is.
This is Henderson.
Y'all wanna remove that?
Do y'all wanna move all of the part-time? New part-time?
My thing is right now, you have no contract that you're getting reimbursed for all that money. I don't know, and Jamie may know more about it than we do, Mr. Clary's back here. About the Hendersonville Library and the fifth day on Friday, you guys.
Are they requesting that?
So we funded our portion of it, but we won't spend it unless the county funds their portion. We've done that in the past couple of years. Obviously, we will, but you all have a million other things to be concerned
How
about.
much is it, Jamie?
How much is it?
I think it's $20,000 from you all. It's $20,000.
I can tell you
So
why
it's
the
about
county
40,000, that's getting close to that 55, I'll bet that.
I can tell you why the county wouldn't fund it in the past, and not to say for or against, but like the amount that Hendersonville's gave the county, is it 50?
50 total.
It's been the
and 20.
same forever, and when you go to the average city-county distributions, Hendersonville pays significantly less than the average city pays on the library. That was their whole reasoning, because the average pays about 40 to 50% of the library.
And see, and our response has always been, Gallatin's open up, if you want to talk about equity, Gallatin's been open on Friday, we're not open on Friday.
And Gallatin only pays 35, and it's been.
And I'm not opposed to certainly the library in my city being open on Friday. It's not a year to do that. We just don't have the money that Hendersonville has. I mean, you're rolling in money and we're not. So.
Have they thought about switching days? My question is, has anybody considered asking the libraries to possibly close one of those less busy days and open up the busier days?
Yeah, we floated that, and we just need Fridays. And if it means closing a couple hours on other days and opening for us on Friday, it'd be wonderful. The problem is when you have a kid who gets a project on a Thursday, they have 6 hours on Saturday morning to get to the library. Google.
Well, I could,
So would a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday work?
that's not-
I think we can
I mean,
Well,
at the-
see.
at
That's
the
their
end of the
problem to
day,
fix that.
Well, I mean, I'm
Yeah, we just
I
don't
think-
need
I
to.
think-
So let's, here's the thing, for now, I mean, we can come, we can come back and revisit this.
I think Mr. Hyde said delete it, is that what you?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
We're gonna, same thing for anything new for Gallatin as well, just.
I think this one you may want to leave, that
You
$600.
gotta, yeah.
Because they, in the past, we're not taking the best minutes. The commission, and I agree, has asked them to do better minutes, and usually you pay minute takers, like, if it's during the day, we usually
That's
pay somebody
fine.
$50, and even $100.
That was the one thing they requested, and they kept from the consolidated, and they just put it in intersil budget, so that's what she said.
This one, they didn't.
All right.
This one didn't have any work. And they didn't ask, this was the cost of living. They asked for that not to be on that position.
Okay.
Not what you're saying, because it's new.
Which is fair.
Mm.
Same thing for it.
Yep, kill it. We're gonna kill it for one, we're gonna kill it for all.
I'll get you the benefits on the fees automatically, don't you? And then the other big ones go back to library. What's the library?
There
On the front
was
page.
maybe a reason
That'll give us an idea
one
how
needed
close
it,
they are.
you
to
know.
the-
Yeah, no, I get it.
Otherwise, I agree.
No, on the main general fund summary leads. Jeremy wants to see the total change.
Yeah, that's where we're, I mean, we want.
They're still $184,000, but if we take that, there was a $90,000 mid-year adjustment with benefits, it's 80 something with benefits on it, that 84 plus benefits. So that would have, so if you, let me click back here.
But you're saying that's part of the consolidated on
No,
that?
click right
No,
here.
this part was the salary survey and COLAs that they didn't get.
No, what happened was they came by and everybody got the cost of living and
Except for the
the
library.
salary adjustments. Well, the libraries had 4 levels of management or something, so I was asked by the committee to look at everybody's. So I flagged out that they had a director, a main director, a manager, I mean, they had all these levels of, so I said, it looks like there's extreme levels of management. Well, they came back and deleted or removed one of those. They brought it back to the committee and the committee approved it and then it allowed April to spread. So that's how this came about, but if you take that, that would, means that number there actually goes up 80, so you'd subtract 80 off of that. Also, IT took $51,000 out of their budget and gave it to them for lines and stuff. So we really need to take, it says, the data processing lines.
They were paying it out of IT.
So if we want to see the true, what I think the true difference is, what's that total? 184, 165.
So did they already get a
I'm
salary
minus
bump?
90,000
No.
around.
Well, oh, you're talking about what we just did in our calculations?
That was like, it was.
Yeah.
Is this a 2% including that? You were reduced
Yes, this
the,
includes-
No,
Yes.
my question is slightly different.
okay.
Is, Mr. Long, did you just say that the 2462 is actually 80,000 more?
It should be 80 more because they actually got all their cost of living after the year started. This is your original budget last year.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
So they've got, okay.
They got it
So-
July.
so are they
last
about
year.
to
They
get-
got their June raises in July or maybe actually in August.
So they already got
I think it was
it?
like all
No,
of yeah.
so are we, I think the question is this.
So they already
Are
got
we
it.
about to go give 2 cost of living increases back to back, or were we having to catch them up?
Basically, back last June, they didn't get one because they had
Right.
COVID.
But they did
They
get
took them
Yeah.
in July.
So,
So
but then
they got their
so
raises
they're
in
asking
July,
for a lot
August,
more.
and they got
They
their
already
raises
got it, okay.
for the last
Yeah.
year.
Okay.
Because they had issues with their salary survey, they had too many levels of management.
Well, the point is they've already gotten it.
But isn't that typically a July 1 date?
You usually get your raises July 1, but because there was issues with what they presented the budget committee moved their cost of living and raises all out of the June 30 budget. And then put it back in August based on after they corrected it.
But it was retro back to July.
Yeah.
The problem being is when they brought it back to me, there was multiple, in other words, I think it was like 30 or 25% was management over there. It was a huge management ratio.
Okay.
The question was how the
So
management.
they've already,
ratio
so their
was-
salaries are already 80,000 higher there.
Right, so when I minus that in the IT, the difference is 43, 147. So if we take Beth over here to the side and take 43, 147 divided by, just kind of rough, 2, 4, 6, 2, 2, 7, 2. Then I never should have done that. We want, I think you've actually probably got them down to the 2% cost of living, it looks like.
Okay. So what are we looking like total? On back to the.
you're about $250 off, but you still haven't looked at nonprofits or ag.
Well, we haven't looked at a
here's
whole lot
another
of
one.
things.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, two I know about right off.
I don't wanna necessarily just stop at.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
we wanna
mean,
keep
right,
going.
because if we can keep going, then it's potential we can either make those savings or we can give, the rest of the folks a little bit more.
But you guys
bump.
mentioned yesterday ag asking for those makeup raises, and I think the consensus was you wanted to see why those were there and probably remove.
Well, here's one, let's do a controversial one first, and I'll just be the bad guy, because I know we had some discussions about it earlier. What happens if we, remove the HR as a department and reconstitute some of those functionalities into the county mayor's office? So intake, part of intake would go to the county mayor's office.
They've never done intake.
No, you
So-
talk, no, law
well,
record
hold
of
on,
mine.
then but you would be doing you would be doing all, I mean, basically everything you're doing now and all of it.
Intake
All of
we
it.
would do.
So is there anything that the county mayor would need to do at all?
No.
What we would.
But you'd also have risk mitigation.
Well, here's kind of my thought, and I've talked to Eric, and I've mentioned to Eric, and said to Eric a minute ago. This is kind of my thought process
Risk
if you
mitigation
did
would go to law
that.
director.
If we're trying to cut costs, then if you cut the department, I could bring in an employee, including raising up anybody for about equivalent to $60,000 employee versus for the whole department, pretty much.
Well, and
That
are
would
we
get-
saving anything if we do this?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
quite a
question.
bit, and I can show you, probably over half of it. Two things happen, we would pick back up all the intake, the open enrollments, the FMLA, we'd have to train somebody. We got another issue, is Eric's office is having trouble because they've got to do all of the, complaints and everything. Well,
So we could-
thought process is you have that other half person down here doing risk management. If you move risk management,
The lead
because
law
right now they're using a person, have to use that other half person, move risk management back up to the law director. Let them use her other half time to help Ramona, that would fix that issue. Now, the complaints,
Motion.
my thought process based
I
on,
don't know that we need a motion for it, we just.
my thought process
Well,
based on.
We would need a motion, I guess, to.
When Eric was here earlier, and unless
We
they
don't.
disagree with me, oh, I'm sorry, he's way back there.
I don't need an explanation.
I think for the complaints, kind of the most logical thing would be if there's have a policy by the commission at some point, you got a complaint, you bring it to your direct supervisor. If your direct supervisor is the problem, you bring it to your elected official. If your elected official is the problem, you bring it to the county attorney. If it involves an employee that's none of those above, then the first one would be me and Eric, then you actually withdraw your complaint to the chairman of the county commission.
Well,
Because you can't really complain to me or Eric to the mayor, for instance, he really can't hire or fire.
so a couple things.
So it kind of fixes
I'd
a
be-
lot of
I'd be
issues.
interested in your thoughts on this, John.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The county mayor, we could help out in whatever function you want to carve out, as far as administrative function. But once we get into the legalities, that belongs in the law department.
I mean,
Yeah, we can't.
when we created HR department, it was, from my recollection, it was really a request that came from the law director.
Because of outsourcing, because of complaints, but I think one thing that may help if you have an official policy, basically, if they call the law director's office to complain, it's not about their elected official, the law director's office probably needs to say, hey, we don't really have any involvement in that. Because that's what was happening earlier, they were calling, if there was a complaint, it was sent up to legal. When they originally abolished HR years ago, it was mentioned for the mayor to take the complaints, but the problem they ran into, elected officials don't work.
No, we're tracking that, so I mean, the idea would be.
So I
that it's
think
going
the
to law.
policy may help, so what happened was, when you send those up to the law office, they take the complaints and listen, they suddenly can't represent us, they have to hire somebody else to represent it, it becomes a conflict of interest. To minimize that, you have a policy, and then, say they call up the law director's office to Ramona or Abby, and there's a policy, they basically say, hey, the policy is if it involves this or this, you can talk to Eric or Steve or whoever, but if it involves this, it goes to your elected official, this is the policy. That may mitigate part of this, unless I'm looking at it wrong. In the past, it was all writ up to legal, and that was the issue. It was costing us an arm and a
What
leg.
does Wilson, Rutherford, do they not have HR departments?
They have HR departments.
So,
So
I don't understand.
my first, or what I would like to at least understand better is, if the HR department is not handling what we, whoever we is, thinks they should, then let's address that. let's consider addressing that versus just wiping out the department. Like, let's let them, like, tell them what we want them to do. I mean, what, is that,
I mean,
it's, from what I've heard in conversation, like,
We can bring
for
staff
some
in.
reason, we never got to that point.
Well, we
yeah, I
can
mean,
bring in
so what
staff in.
happened here? I mean, I guess this is the question, like, what happened and what's being, we added a function, and, frankly, if I'm just being honest, I've had discussions with people in this building that the function does not seem to be taking away. If you add a function, it's supposed to take work away from existing functions and consolidate it. And that has not occurred. And whether that is now to your point, like, we can make them do that, but, we've had 2 years.
Well, and true, that's a good point, but like, who is the,
What we need.
who's the squeaky wheel? Yeah, who's complaining right now?
Well,
Is it
that's
finance?
why I asked that.
Sounds like it's
Both the county
finance.
mayor and
It's not, it's your job, Parker, is it?
We'll have to have somebody involved with it.
Your comment.
I mean, it sounds like Mr. Long is driving this.
It's a little both.
Both him and
I mean, he said, this didn't get implemented. He said that earlier. So,
Do we need to take a vote on this? I'm gonna make a motion.
well, I don't know that we need
Neither one.
Make sure the one, hey.
So,
Well, I have an employee.
Well, here's your cost of the
so that, we
personnel.
need to make a motion already.
Right here's your total cost of the personnel office this year, $176,250.
So let's get that. What do we say?
It'll be that versus about 60 plus benefits, and you'd be saving.
161,488 is
Well,
what.
plus benefits, you'd be saving probably 90 to 100,000, 90, 89,000.
Because we wouldn't say that because this is not, what it hurt is that risk mitigation.
But you're also gonna pick up half of the risk manager to help.
She's not paid.
Yeah, but she's working in that office right now. So instead of hiring part-time for them to help with the loan, you could send the risk manager back.
But her salary's not being met.
Her salary's not that total, they wouldn't allow her to do that.
So I'm just trying to figure out since we have two different numbers, David,
Go
mine
click
has one
over
and
there,
David
go
Long has
click
another.
over to,
We're looking at the
finance,
sheet he gave us.
stick it in
That's
W
it.
employees, is that what you call it?
We're looking at your sheet.
Dave, his loaded cost is her loaded cost is 161,
That's what we gave.
488.
Right, but if I need a 60 employees, it would be 60 minus basically 54, 54,000 plus benefits, and then whatever most of the operation.
That's Cheryl.
Right, she costs 161,448.
Right.
So we're gonna need somebody to do some enrollments for us. Now, we can
Is that,
take Kim and move her up there to help them, but we'll still need somebody to do enrollment.
who's the HR strategist?
That is
Kim Wise.
Kim Wise. That's when I say we can spend half time helping.
She's 98 and a half.
Yeah, we can send her,
Yeah,
send her other half
that's-
of the time.
that's
helping
things.
them.
Yeah, she stays. She goes up to your office.
Well, no, Eric's office.
Or to Eric's office.
To help him, because Ramona right now needs some help with agendas and various other things.
So what we're talking about,
Let's just do it.
Is getting more, you're
so
gonna cut
I
about
just wanna make
90,000.
sure, you're gonna cut about 90 to 100,000.
You'll cut about 90,000 bucks.
So
and you'll
we
send
probably
us-
need a
I
vote
want
on
to
this.
interject here just a second. We're not just talking about moving a person, I need room. So it's not that simple.
What about the room at the end of the hall?
Risk management is empty.
I understand that, but I just didn't want y'all thinking somebody was shifting to a desk here.
Oh, he needs that risk management room at the end of the hall, but you guys assign space, so you'll need to sign him. You need to sign the
Okay.
risk
That's where
management.
But is that gonna work for you, for her to be down
Where
here?
risk was before.
And you're up on the third floor?
No, we're talking about if we move her, we've got the space.
At the end of the
There's a
hall.
risk man.
Oh,
It used to be
This
risk
person used to be
management.
there, and they went downstairs and we just.
Okay, so
Right
you've
there.
got
Well,
room.
here's what we're doing
We're
is
playing around, Rob.
deconsolidating what we're undoing what was done 2 years ago.
Right.
That's really
That's
it.
it.
So, okay, I think we probably need a vote on this.
And actually, it'd be less than that because, you know, some,
So the vote,
A minimum.
so we would need a motion. I don't know what this conversation is, but we would need we would need a motion, right?
Just basically, if you guys really tell us to add the person in,
And-
remove.
Well, we can, all right, then let's just do that.
Let's
Let's
do
do
that.
that.
Remove the line.
That's right, yeah, that's fine. Hey, you're right. Yeah,
Benefits
that's
person
fine.
in.
So we're gonna change line items. We're gonna move the risk management person over to the law
Let's
director's
put the
office.
benefits clerk in for 45 because These two are the two gonna be working with them, and since I'm asking for money on those,
And
I'll give
I'll
them
draft
additional duties too. One will divide those duties out, so instead of hiring a 60,000 person, I'll hire somebody for about 45 on this. That'll pull some more money.
All right, now let's do this and let's see where we're at.
And then go in there and pull all of HR out, and then,
Have you, yeah, put the risk management person under the law director.
right.
So have you done that yet?
Consider somebody an employee plus one, because I don't know what insurance they'll have, so, but I don't know what they have downstairs either. And then, so you're gonna end up with probably about 60 versus 176. You're gonna be probably, we'll tell you what this total is versus 176 is the minute, you can see what the difference is.
David, do you think all the other costs involved with personnel office
We're
will
gonna pull
just,
them all out, and then if, in the middle of the year, if I end up $5,000 short, we'll let you guys know. I don't wanna puff this.
so there might be synergies there maybe?
I think so, but the problem we're gonna run into, to be honest, is copy costs. We're gonna do this, we're having to- we probably can find enough, but I'm just concerned because copy costs is gonna aid us for print.
Even a company, we've got time.
That's $70,000.
Free up money in the general fund.
It'll be 71 versus that one. Yes, it's completely separate. She works half-time. So I don't need that half-time. Plus you can do it for completely.
All the employees,
She can
so
use
now all you're gonna do is
but I think you're gonna get
get
some
some additional
additional
personnel, eventually can come
Well,
in and do all of that open
To
enrollment.
be fair, it'll cost.
We're doing it.
Personnel complaint?
Yeah, based on
Yeah,
policy and
Dave-
personnel complaints.
David earlier
Goes to
said
the
that they're doing
supervisor,
the
then
exact
the
same thing.
official,
In fact,
and
he
then the
said it
official,
may
it
cost
comes
them
up.
remind us of, because of
We
it.
could do that. Probably.
What he
Well,
said,
we
so
don't-
I don't
So-
disagree.
That'll get
He's
rid
the
of
one
all
on
that.
it.
We need just a resolution for that kind of,
I just think you'd want to probably adopt your.
I mean, we seem to function without it 2 years.
Like if somebody being sexually harassed or
It was.
discriminated, whatever, the right was.
Because it was.
You know, a lot of those are things like, you know, my bosses lean
It was the
to.
previous.
so, basically employee to supervisor.
Some of this
No,
being
no,
around
no,
somebody.
no, no.
There's a difference between, you know, making.
John, you didn't
find
have.
out.
That's fine. If there's one like.
Employee to supervisor to the constitutional officer.
And then-
You didn't have
and then
any
if it's
experience
small constitutional
really with
officer,
HR,
it goes
did
to
you?
legal.
Oh, no.
And if it's an employee of the county commission,
I
it
quickly
goes
learned
to,
that it wasn't implemented.
the chair of the county commission,
And
determine what the complaint goes.
once we were
Yeah, but for the most part, it's employee to supervisor, supervisor to constitutional officer, constitutional officer, legal, and obviously if it's a finance or legal
Just
issue,
say
it goes straight
employees
to.
of the county commission,
Yeah, basically it
All
goes
right,
to.
so
I've talked to him about.
where are we at?
other things, but-
Well, that employee would be about 71 with all benefits, and the whole department comes out about 176, so you're about 100 to the bottom.
We're about 100 more, so where are we looking at? What's our, how much do we need to keep going on? I mean, we're gonna keep going past
Let's delete
that.
all these non-salary ones, because I don't think I want to leave all those.
Were you gonna take a vote on
Oh,
We're
so
just
good
gonna
on the
roll, I
bottom
don't think we
line,
need
see
to,
where
we're
we're
gonna
at.
roll this all up and then we can just, you know.
You,
we
after you
don't
go
have to vote
through
on that budget
ag,
anyway.
I think right now if you go through ag and a few of these others, we're going to like non.
So do we clear that out?
Yeah, we
I'm
cleared
just
it out. It's cleared.
I'm just doing a policy or something, a note for legislative.
You're about 100 and probably 50 more you need to pull somewhere.
Do you have it easily accessible on new vehicle requests?
Yeah, that'll be when you get your capital, when you get done with the others.
Yeah,
I'd recommend finishing.
I try to go there, but
We already
Yeah.
pulled the three.
I got steered to capital because we're
So
trying to.
let's
do
go to
general.
ag extension.
You know, ag, and let's pass out the sheets, because there was some confusion. We put in the detail how. Yeah, this is ag.
Oh, the other one, sorry.
So this is the salary sheet
Yeah,
with
this
those
is-
additional
this is a-
details that's on the screen. Because some of the stuff was,
This was,
combined yesterday, maybe a little confusing, so we try to make it a little less confusing. And then this is what was given to the budget committee, and it'll help kind of show you how you got there. This is the adjustments. And give you the history, and this sheet will make a lot more sense how some of the stuff got there. Because I think the big question is, oh, because it's moved from being 18 there. Okay. When everybody gets that, I'll kind of go through the sheets and see if I can make sense of it.
okay. Did everybody get one? Everybody got
Okay.
one.
What happened last year is ag extension,
There's only one.
ag extension, and we got both these sheets, ag extension sent their budget in late. So what happened to ag extension, they done it a couple of years, the budget committee told them, you are getting no more money, but you can move your line items however necessary to make it work. They kind of switched directors, we're still paying their employees. They came back into my office, I believe, October, November, it was later, after this commission was here. And started working with me, and I brought this back to this commission, I believe, was it January, February, or it was later, like maybe December. And I kind of explained to you what the discussion was and where they were at. When we moved the stuff around, they took money because there's only one employee paid by the county, all the rest of these are paid on an invoice to UT. So what they wanted to do was move money between all these line items and make it the same to come out to the same dollars and be able to pay the employees. When they did that, they took, for instance, money from where they were gonna bill health and moved it over here into gross salaries to make it work, and eliminated a county position up to UT to make the total dollars work. So they're not getting the position back, I talked to them, they understood that. They brought this to you guys, you improved it. So what happened was when we did that, because it moved between salaries and everything, 24, if everybody's looking at this, sheet right here, 24, that 24,831 got moved from here up into the UT-ish cost. It was eliminated out of here, but then blended into the UT. They got 6,212 after the year started, plus benefits for the county employee, because the county employee didn't get a raise or any salary survey raises, so the commission agreed to give that to them. So when they gave the raises for the libraries, they gave this employee the raise too, after the year started. That's why it shows up here. So those two netted the difference of what they adjusted over between these benefits for $18,000. That gets you to where we're at right here. The one in question, you come over here, now this is the cost of living at these, at 2% right now? 1.75? It's a 2. This is the 2%, but they're also coming back and asking for all these raises from last year. That was the question yesterday. I think most of the committee's consensus was, one, this is confusing because there's a bunch of moving pieces and the way it fell out. But number two, I think a lot of the consensus was that you guys didn't want to do the makeup salaries or whatever they wanted. So that's the question right now. Do you want to pull out all these makeup salaries?
How much do we save if we pull out the makeup?
It'll be the
salaries?
29,693 plus benefits.
Okay.
It's about $40,000. That's going to get a pretty good chunk of the.
I think one yellow column.
Yeah,
I'd say
this
we-
guy.
yes.
Yeah, I say,
Yes.
I say we pull it.
We did it for the library.
Yep.
Well, hold on a second. The library, make sure I understand, I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but, so this yellow column on this sheet is because they missed the previous 2 years deadline,
Correct.
and so they got 0
And they're
COLA.
asking for some money to make up for it.
Okay. Because they missed the previous 2 years, they're asking, this request is some of it to make up
For
for
what they
0
lost.
for 2
For where they
previous.
lost money, and some of the other history.
I mean, it's a
is
different
Part of the
request.
reason
It
for
is
the
a different
increases in your UT
It is.
is you give a percentage for the UT employees, and you didn't used to give it for health insurance. UT made a change a couple of years ago where they started telling us that you had to give a percentage of health insurance too. It was brought down here to the committee, and they were just told they were gonna have to do it to keep.
I mean,
That's part of your increases over the past too.
so, to me, it's a different type of request. I don't understand how you miss a deadline 2 years in a row, but,
Yeah, I hate to see the people
Um,
suffer.
yeah.
Because their bosses are.
Is the percentage mentioned here, or, I mean, I guess I can try.
That's what she mentioned last year, was just to make up for what they didn't get last year.
But what was that percentage?
Yeah, I mean, I can get my
The county
calculator.
employees last year, I think the base was at 3.5.
So what on this sheet, what's this COLA and the column to the left, the 13,424, what percentage is that?
Which one are we looking at?
The column to the left of the yellow, this says cost of living.
That would be the 2% like everybody else. It calculates based on the column beside it.
Yeah, but when did you print this off to get 2%?
Today.
But no,
After we change it to 2%?
Yeah, click on the thing, show you what it is. I get what you're saying, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. This was when it was still 6.
Oh, that's, yeah, because that was, okay, so it's not 2.
Now,
So,
this is
so if the
2
yellow
right here.
column is 6,
Now there's 2.
Or we may not.
or excuse me, if the white column, if the cost of living column is 6, then the yellow column is
Six.
another 12%, because that's double.
It's big.
It's more than double, that's like
Well, let's
15%.
just see what percent 1.444 is of the 2. Everybody requested 6, but those 2 together for her to maybe, let's see what it actually ends up being. If you do
I mean, we could.
1,
That's not 6 though.
1.4 divided by
It's like it's
24,
5.
I'd cut it in half.
595.
That's probably what I'd do.
equals- That's just 4%.
Well, that saves us 50.
On that cost of
We can fight
living.
over it.
Or did we change it for you? So if we take
50, you
28,
see that they make.
595.
I live in the real world. I don't like it, but it's the real world.
1144
Is there
divided
no
by
other way to get those?
28.
I mean,
95
who's gonna do
is
it?
4%.
Kim Norfleet?
Something odd for it.
Man.
If we take 1088.
Is she gonna start,
Yeah,
she gonna
that's
have that
4%.
position job, go around and coordinate with all these mayors?
I don't know, we could ask her.
4.31.
I mean,
She's sitting right there.
do
So
it.
that's more than 4% for sure.
I mean, like I said, I don't like it, but I want that money.
1,700.
You know,
Yeah, the
On that
915 is 4%. So that, the cost of living column is 4%, so that means the yellow column is basically 10%.
Click on that for a little bit and see what that is for. Make sure it isn't wide. Yeah, because that's what.
So if we cut that down to 2%, well, if we cut the cost of living down to 2%, then I would entertain, another 2% for the yellow column. I mean,
You mean just 2% period for the yellow of that, or are you just saying going 4% total?
this is just for discussion. It would be,
You
I would at least entertain a discussion for the cost of living being the 2%
for this year.
for this year. And then this yellow column, which is because
Is it 2 years or 1 year that they miss, the yellow column?
I thought they missed 2 years, but
the yellow-
It's at least two. Did they make up?
So the yellow column is
Let me clarify.
showing
I just don't
2 years of
two,
miss.
two cycles.
So you're
It's not
saying
two
make that
cycles of
4% and that yellow.
raising.
I was saying
Since it's two.
They didn't use,
two.
But just two total, I find.
no, they didn't lose two cycles of raises, they lost this
One,
one year
okay, so it's
because
just
they
one.
were late 2 years in a row, and they were actually, I think, they were late.
So it's basically just 2 for the white, 2 total for the yellow. Make that 2%.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 for the
2
white,
covering last year, 2 covering this year.
2 for the white, 2 for the yellow.
That's fine.
It
That's-
changed from
yeah.
like 280.
So,
all right,
I
so
mean,
what's,
I
I can go
think
with
that's
that.
It's
fair.
not being punitive to
Yeah.
employees.
All right.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
For
so can we just do 2%?
They'll feel it as a big bump,
Catch
so.
that back, what Jerry was just saying.
This,
So the yellow column going back, just
You wanted the
basically,
same
No,
as this.
plus this times, just plus
So,
times 0.02. and
COLA 2% this
It's
year,
the
not
same
6%.
thing as this one.
Yeah, it is the same. Should be
Well,
the
let's make
exact
sure to
same.
verify, know what I would do, so I put plus.
0.2
plus that
times,
0.02.
Point of
And
two.
see if they equal be the same, that's what I wanna look at, because the system's acting weird. Then we should.
Yeah.
Boom,
It's the same.
good to
And
go.
copy it on down. and make
Yeah,
sure
just grab that bottom right, boom, like it.
It's round, these ones, these other percentages. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
mine is, I was wondering because of the.
So how much would we just say?
And now
What's the total?
That employee got a raise last year, I don't know if you want to do that. That's the one that got the raise and the salary survey, they did give it to the county.
Yeah, why, yeah, don't include that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were-
I mean, we just went down from 40 down to 12, 40 something. That's,
Yeah, I
you saved
mean,
about $30,000.
that's
Now go
good.
click to the summary page and see what it looks like now.
And you're still getting something instead of just
Yeah.
zeroing it out.
40 down to 12, so almost
Yeah.
30.
Roughly, I mean, a little over 40.
Do you want to go to the nonprofits next and then start going down? the
Let's do
individual?
nonprofits.
And then go down the individual non-salary. because we've
Well,
got
was there
some-
any other, I mean, because there was one other salary that I think we could argue about, and that was, you and I talked, you had 3 on those custodians, and you said you
We
think you
deleted
could.
one of
Oh,
them.
we already did that.
Oh, you already deleted the one, okay,
But-
all right.
Wasn't there some employee differences on pay scale in the county
Well,
mayor's
we
office?
could look at, are there any employee differences that are like major category changes, like that lieutenant or others, or things like in other departments?
You mean do we should do full-time
That
employees?
things that were like, that got shifted up.
Go look at this, Bethany, go, yeah, these right here is anything outside this cost of living.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, let's look at
Those
this.
are for the new employees, I know what that is, that's additional part-time in the law director's office, election because they cut their part-time, and there was the way to talk about that. Register,
What's that 60,000?
which one, that one?
Yeah.
That's that new employee for the
That we
replacement.
decided.
The register manager. That's all.
Okay.
From HR.
That's total 40, I don't want him for
Got it,
45,
got it,
and
got it.
I want to give more duties to the other two employees.
Got it.
so they know where to work.
Trustee.
Trustee's asking for part-time, and she had a position that was under the start pay, about $4,000. You wanna look at it?
Yeah, let's look at that guy.
She's asking for that position to be brought up to 40, and she's asking for part-time.
Which department?
Trustee, Cindy Brothers.
And she's historically not asked for a whole lot for it, on the part-time. This one, I'm not sure how it got here without researching it, how it got down
I
to,
think she made some salary.
yeah, so she took 4,900 a day raise
She
earlier.
done a salary adjustment.
Yeah, so that's kind of, she gets my raise and made that position.
I mean,
Kind of caused it.
This position.
Did they turn out?
So hey, what's going on there?
Profit there, they ain't gonna vacant position.
Hey,
Simple beer.
David, what happened, what's there on K-19 and 20?
Yeah, this is what you got right here. And that's what I was telling you earlier. People have these positions and they give raises. What happens is, like Cindy Williams, for instance, she has a salary agreement or a salary suit. So after you approve your budget, she may give people raises that you said, she may give somebody nothing, she may give somebody more, and she may, if she has vacant positions, may move money between those positions. The only way you can prevent that is if, well, one, if she wants a salary agreement and the mayor disagrees, or number two, she does a salary suit and he successfully defends it. That's really the only way
So-
to give her a budget.
So basically on this one, she took $4,900 away from the trustee and put it to the tax relief.
Yeah, it looks like she, yep,
And now she's coming back asking for 88 for the deputy trustee.
yep.
yeah.
Something seems a
For
little,
that, it's a
Yeah,
vacant
that's,
position.
that's a,
it's a vacant position?
Yeah.
so is she looking to,
Something doesn't.
some doesn't add up
Something
there?
doesn't.
I think we can zero that out. Or, I mean, well, if you zero that out, that's still gonna account for the 2%, right?
Yes, it'll be able to give her 2%.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't follow.
Position is vacant.
Well, I mean, it sounds like somebody's got somebody that she's trying to hire.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's what it looks like
It's
to me.
vacant, so she took the money,
Yeah.
gave it to someone else, and now is wanting to double
Yeah,
the money.
yeah, so, I mean, that one doesn't pass the sniff test.
I mean, just looking at the data, yeah. Just looking at the data, that's what it looks like.
It's,
There's a raise.
all right, let's so you zeroed that out. Let's keep that part-time though.
I think she probably needs.
Let's keep that part-time.
Well, hold on a second, this is also, she was wanting 2 additional part-time,
Was it, yeah, that was 2.
and I don't think, in order to accommodate the additional 2, we'd have to move the desk back.
That's that 30,000.
Yeah, but she doesn't know, I don't think she's gonna have the room for 2 people.
She said some of them could work back behind there doing some mail sorting.
Yeah, hold on a second, hey, David Klein,
Dave Klein, quick question.
can you, we're talking about the part-time for the trustee's office?
Uh-huh.
And I know you were down there looking at that desk and all that stuff yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
This part-time was for 2 additional employees. But if I recall in the conversation with her, you know, she didn't know if she could have space for two employees if they didn't do something.
Yeah, and their bigger problem was noise.
Yeah.
Because so many seniors are in there and they're hard of hearing, and so it looked like we could have a net increase of 1, and I guarantee you, we could do more if we wanted to. There's plenty of space there to do what I think those gals at the counter do. So, but I think the reasons she wants it part-time is because they have February is their slam.
Yeah.
But you and I were in there yesterday, there wasn't a soul in there.
Yeah, well, anyway, but,
It's more than they'll.
yeah, but it'd be.
After March 1, it goes like this, but after the taxes go out, especially right before they become delinquent, it's really busy. It's just like the county clerk's much busier on the first.
I'm fine with leaving it in there right now. I just don't know if they get 2, if they can even accommodate 2 in the space. Or
Well,
should we just cut that to 1?
There was nobody sitting at those kiosks.
Well, yeah, yesterday was.
Well, it's past the deadline.
Yeah, it's past the deadline,
On
so,
tax relief, so
Yeah.
you won't see.
yeah.
Yeah, well, so how many temp employees does she have
2.
now? She's
Well,
got,
She's asking for 2
She's asking
more.
for 2 more.
is everybody else full-time?
She's already got it.
Where were they yesterday? I guess.
She has 5 full-time besides herself.
They what?
She has 5 full-time.
Okay, she probably
besides
had,
herself.
And I think they comp sometime during tax season, because they're open later hours too.
okay.
They're here when I leave.
She
So
had
the
five.
question is, do they have room for 2 part-time people?
Yes.
You think they do?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll leave that in for now.
All right, let's keep chugging on these.
You just wanna go across these?
I just want to go back to all the salaries that were outside of the 6%, or the 2%.
Law director, his contractual, that is.
So,
Election commission was one we've got, all of her request sheets that you guys wanna go through those.
I mean, I say we hold what we've got for now.
Yeah, it's just-
I mean, we're
Okay.
still, I mean, if we go, because
Maintenance
hers
effort.
adds to it, we're not even under where we need to be yet.
Okay.
Once we get well under, then maybe we can come look if
Okay,
we
but I've got
can.
all her details here, is that?
we're gonna keep.
You know, we gotta keep going.
We're over here for, that's the custodian and the maintenance stuff. Risk management, that's the one, risk management going back under, Aaron.
Law director,
Yep.
Half time working over there, but it's paid through risk management. That's the one with the total sick, the additional duties and the employee to handle enrollment.
Okay.
I think those salaries anywhere, they're not going to maintain. The assessor, I don't think he asked for anything extra. The additional amount is to bring to the minimums required, same thing with the trustee. Clerk. IT department asked for,
Yeah,
$2,900, what's the $2,900?
That's her.
the IT was asking for another
Yeah, they
staff
were-
member, what was that
This is
for?
right- That was for the new courthouse.
Was it-
They want to put somebody over there at that office to, I think there's an office over there in there, John, unless that changed.
I mean,
For,
go ahead.
No, I'm just confirming what he
What were
said.
you gonna say, Jerry?
I think we leave that in there for now.
Well, I think we leave it in, but they also need to be picking up, because we cut the one from the sheriff.
Correct.
This is a thing, your phrase, shadow IT,
Mhm.
like that, we need to tackle that, and this, we leave this, but the expectation will be that IT needs to begin to pick up all IT functions that they can legally throughout the county.
I think it
100%.
may be best to create you a subcommittee to look at that, and then
Uh-huh.
we can have one of the analysis from
You wanna head over?
from my office, can send you all these contracts last year where we were outsourcing all the IT stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot of outsourcing you probably want to play with.
I think we keep that one,
Yeah.
the idea is we're gonna save, are there any other IT additions? I thought there was one other one.
We got one now.
Oh, there was the one for ECD
Yeah,
that passed
yeah.
through.
This
Yeah,
right here, he's
They
asking
had to have a
for
backup or something.
$4,500 for that manager at the circuit court clerk. When they open up the new courthouse, she said she needs another manager. And she does have several employees. I don't know how many managers she has, but I don't really know.
I mean, I will acknowledge that one seems kind of reasonable.
Which
that
one
much
is this?
money
Is
anyway.
this Catherine Strong?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Catherine. She said
Oh,
she
yeah,
needs
yeah,
another manager over the new place. to
She's
come.
picking up everything and putting it in one
It's,
spot.
yeah, consolidating the.
I mean, it's not a big
Well,
department, it's 3 or 4.
she needed the new manager because she has a debt collection. She wants to create a debt collection manager for the debt collection area.
She has one supervisor in each.
And it's a working supervisor.
Right, but she
Yeah.
wants them to be over the people doing the debt collection.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
to me, they're a working supervisor,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
if it was just a supervisor, just a layer.
Yeah, and it's not.
Okay, drug court this is another one that you'll need to look at later, but these right here are all covered by DUI and drug fees or grants. There is a deficit in the project, but that's because we're not accounting for any of that opioid settlements. So that committee you have can probably really easily abate that $30,000 potential deficit with that opioid fund to help them operate. Basically, there's some grants, it's kind of, what's the word, basically, they're going away or shrinking, or not growing, that's basically that's where they came from. Like John.
Well, what happens if we can't do that? Are we on the hook for it?
If it's not break even, but they usually don't spend it all anyway, so you probably, yeah, you'll be on the hook for that $30,000 for sure if you didn't use opioid funds, but I don't.
Well,
Opioid funds
yeah.
have to be used for drug treatment, so you might want to.
So I'm looking at this drug court, is that a new position?
No. John is funded from a grant. That grant.
Oh, that's right.
runs-
I'm-
But it runs from October to September.
I remember this now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm tracking this.
So
I
we
remember
only-
this.
We only know up to 3 months.
I'm tracking.
And they probably won't have a deficit if the grant gets approved for his other, because what we do each time is we take his other salary out if the grant approves it, we just don't know if it's approved. So that 30,000 deficit
It's vacant.
probably ain't gonna happen, but I don't wanna guarantee a grant's gonna be there and you're not gonna have a deficit. I always go by what we mostly know. And that's gonna be the issue if I do that. Same thing like the clerk and master has a minimum salary, that's a difference up there, he's asking 2,960 overtime. He said he eliminated the position, but I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I'm good with that one. He does a good job managing that.
Assistant mayor, executive, it's the same thing.
Yeah, he asked for $45,000, another magistrate and
Yeah, this is,
That date was, I missed, that's when I left.
yeah,
But she's gonna be getting the tapers.
so,
Yeah, and this right here.
and this is somebody who's actually gonna take cases. I remember this discussion.
I don't know how we can afford so many
Yeah, but I don't see where that's,
luxuries this year.
it's not showing that.
I mean, I hate not to help.
I wasn't in on it. I don't know what the conversation
Oh,
was.
but we haven't seen that yet.
I almost feel like,
I mean,
this one's hard, this one's a hard one. I mean, 'cause the ask was, I understood the ask,
no, I get it.
but man, this doesn't feel like the year to be. able
Do you
to-
remember, what was the other folks from Judge Howard's ask on this?
They said because the caseload they were magistrate and the intake officer.
Yeah.
And these cases go from day to day instead of just boom, boom, boom.
The juvenile cases are usually longer drawn out than like a sessions case. Sessions may be like
I'm wondering if you could actually keep the intake officer but not do the magistrate, if that would help them. You know what, because they're gonna, we're gonna get,
they got.
they're gonna appeal, or they're gonna get a hearing on
Maybe,
this.
maybe not. Sometimes you get appeals, sometimes.
So, I mean, I think we remove it, and if they really need it, they can come back for a hearing, and we can discuss it.
Remove the magistrate.
Remove both. I mean, I don't wanna be the person dictating this. but
Yeah, I wasn't in on the conversation. I don't have a.
It was,
He said.
like
because of
ideally,
caseload growth is what he said.
He said what?
Growth of caseload, that's what all the judges are saying right now, that the caseloads are significantly growing in the county, that's kind of the gist. That's what I recall. If that helps any, Mr.
We're not-
Baker.
That's always something you can look at next year.
Let's leave it out for now. Let's move on.
all right, keep going.
The other men, nothing there. Probation, they cut that part-time. Sheriff, you've already went through.
We went through there, I mean, we,
Which one did I miss? I missed one?
Yeah.
Or did you guys want to leave? That was the one that was temporary, that was added this past
Oh.
year, and with the thought that it may or may not stay.
that was the one, because, and Mr. Hyde, I believe your comment on that was that this was making those two general sessions courts even.
See, they were supposed to
They're
have shared.
supposed to have
this.
shared one,
Never happened.
and it didn't end up happening.
I can't see giving one courtroom, the position and not giving, Judge Blanton, the same position.
So how much is that if we add that back in?
It's already in there. It's
Oh, it
already
is,
there.
okay, got it, all right, then that's
We
fine.
just need your approval.
Yeah,
Yeah, just leave it in there.
Keep it in, keep it in.
Yeah.
It's the disclosure issue that you guys make sure we're getting. Sheriff's already done the E911's flow through. EMA is just got the cost of living in the ARPA, and it kind of gives you the idea that ARPA's not what with ARPA. Consolidated dispatch is the one I was saying is based on the interlocal agreement, and I sent that to Eric, and Steve may want to ask Eric, but my understanding is you can get out of the interlocal agreement anytime or amend it, but right now, if you're in that interlocal agreement, I think you're kind of,
We're stuck at 2%.
unless you go talk to like Mr. Isabel and the other mayors to have a discussion that it may be too much money.
Well, I mean, what's that gonna save us if we went to 1.5 here?
Well, right now, what happened on they're at the 2, but also what they've had is vacant positions for a long time, and they've been using it to pay that ARPA, which was 12%. They've taken the 12% and added it in and kept those vacancies, and that was what was pretty much approved.
I mean, but 12%, everybody's got 3.5%. I mean, that's.
All these in pink have additional.
And these pinks have additional on top of that, and that was a question for Mr. Isabel, he was on the board. My understanding was that she got 2% and the ARPA, but when Beth and I started looking and we confirmed with her, she actually has additional raises in there too. And what she presented to you guys, in addition, is that correct, Beth?
Who was
Yeah,
the
like
position?
this one here is getting 7,600 total, that,
For the
includes
ECD?
additional
No.
$2,088
In
on top
addition
of
of the ARPA and
their
2%.
ARPA amount.
I'd have to go back and look at those notes.
Well, that's what we got from the
Yeah.
minutes. Do we need to send this budget back to that committee for them to look at that and see if it's what they actually really? The understanding from what Beth got and what I seen on the minutes said, the 2% and a few other things and the ARPA. This contains 2% ARPA and more stuff.
What I would recommend is that any changes you have, maybe send it
Addition.
back and we'll call a special call meeting.
Yeah, let's put it in line with what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll call and let them know, basically your committee know there's these additional raises in addition to the 2%
Yeah,
ARPA.
well, I can,
So
yeah,
that's-
call
so
the
that-
chairman, then call a special.
We're gonna
meeting.
call that, so this is gonna become 1.5 as opposed to 2.
Now, that's just my understanding from the minutes,
Well, right
unless
now.
you guys, because I think you proposed it, John. Was that your
One, sorry, it goes to
proposal?
1, goes to 1.
That's what I was reading, but I was making sure I wasn't there.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, I wanna be honest, I mean, if you, again, I'm just looking at the baseline in here. If you're talking about all the county employees who did not get any of the ARPA stuff, and then we're talking a lot of the ARPA, 3.5 times more than anybody else last year. It really should be 0 and 2%. If you're doing 2%, I mean, there's a greater disparity there. If we're just gonna baseline something, I'm just being honest, I'm not,
I mean, I
I'm
get
just
it.
talking about in all fairness here.
I get it. I mean, we can go back, once we do all this
Does
cleanup,
that
we
make
can
sense?
go
Well,
back
let
and.
me throw another piece of mud in there, make sure everybody understands all of it. The sheriff's department's employees hired after July 1, 2022, did not get any of the ARPA. That, the EMS kept doing it. Also, when they did the cost of living last year, if your raise was above 1% when you did your ARPA against the raises, they would actually decrease your salary last year, some of the ARPA too. So it's not, they didn't necessarily, in other words, say we came in next year and you got the 12% ARPA, right? And they decreased from 15 to 12, that's a 3% decrease. If your net increase wasn't at least 1%, you got 1%. But if you didn't, they decreased it down to 1%, if that makes sense. In other words, if you started out at 15 and they were going to decrease the ARPA down to 12, if you got 4% or more through the salary survey and everything, then they netted that against you and just gave you 1%. So they decreased your cost of living last year too. But it was based on how much you picked up on the salary survey.
Mr. Chairman, when I left the room a few minutes ago, Mr. Weiner caught my attention and said that
Yes.
that the attorney had a varying opinion on that. So I asked Eric out in the hallway a few minutes ago, and I could care less, but what we don't want to do is get into a situation where we think we're in good balance and then be way out of whack. And he had a different opinion on whether you could have a dual kind of paying system between
The
people.
issue is, it's not whether it be a successful lawsuit, but whether you have litigation in the first place.
Yes.
I think you could be fine doing that, but you might have an increased litigation risk. and I think
He
that's
said
what
the risk of litigation would be pretty great.
Yeah, but not that it's improper, but it would increase the litigation risk substantially, and that's what we want to clarify with you.
Yeah, well, I talked to him.
Yeah.
In the hallway, and I'm just saying that someone needs to talk with him and get a good understanding of that, because he was somewhat hesitant about that and said it was risky.
So he's basically saying, well, anybody can be sued for anything.
Right.
This may increase the likelihood that you're sued for something.
Yes.
It's not necessarily going to say it's going to be successful, but we've done this in the past.
Well, so let's do this. Let's continue this exercise, and then we'll look at it at 1% across the board, 2% across the board, and 3% across the board. And but before we go and do that, let's continue this exercise.
Yeah.
Department by
Those
department.
are easy.
Those are
This
easy
spreadsheet
changes.
is easy.
Okay, you are to,
Did we,
veteran service,
have we done all the departments?
Yeah, they skipped a lot. No, we gotta go back.
They didn't have any requests, but you have to do
You've
non-salary.
already went through libraries and,
Yeah,
No.
Finance, county mayor, we haven't looked at those.
You look at the salaries.
Yeah, we've
no,
already
we
done
looked at those.
libraries.
Did we do mayor's office?
You've looked at
Did
the
we do-
salaries, you just haven't looked at the
I
non-salary.
got stuff I wanna say.
Yeah.
Where are
Yeah,
we?
which one do you want to go to?
County mayor.
Go to the county
County
mayor.
mayor.
Okay, first let's finish up, we don't care.
Look at this one
Veterans
today.
here, let's talk about him really quick. This 56, if you look, almost, what, same as.
$18
Yeah.
more.
This guy right here, what he did was he asked this year not to get a raise, to get part-time people, and now he's
I'm
asked to make
super
up
comfortable
that
with this one. Like,
My question is, did you guys wanna give him a cost of living or not?
I mean,
No, he didn't request a cost of living, I mean, it's showing, but it's.
But I'm saying he's not really technically getting one, did you guys wanna make that number to where he's getting a cost of living or not?
what
Cause he's
would-
getting about the same as the
what
other
would-
without a
What
cost.
difference would it be?
2% of that, about, what, $1,200?
What's the 10,444?
To
That-
get him back to
Right.
FY '23.
So this is kind of the way I'm looking. He came in and, say if you moved him into that directorship and paid him the same, he would've got a 2% cost of living, but he went back and said, hey, instead of giving me these raises, can I have a part-time this year to help out the veterans? So now he's asked to go back to where he would've made then. Well, if he would've just taken that and we give a 2%, he would actually make more. So it'd be him asking to not take salary for a while and give you guys part-time, he's actually hurt himself about $1,200.
But-
If you do 2%. That's just to be fair to him. I'm
But
sorry.
he moved that to what?
He was in this position,
Mhm.
and then when the director left, he moved up, but at this salary
Okay.
instead of the director's salary.
Voluntarily, because he wanted to take the additional, and he asked you guys
He
to
gave
give
his-
for
he
To do, what did he do the additional?
To his
part-time,
employees.
you know,
He gave up
Okay, so he's
his,
gonna give away that part-time now?
for this year, and then go back to the salary next year. But my point is, by him trying to help everybody with the part-time, if he would've just went into that salary and just gave him a cost of living, he's hurt himself by about 2%. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. Did you want to give him the 2% or let him take the request he has as the flat? He's actually, by him giving that up, he's gave up more. If that makes sense, let's make sure you guys are
Yeah,
aware.
I'm-
I just want to make sure you're aware.
So last year, he asked to stay at the 44,
Yes.
but then use what with that money? Part-time?
Part-time people to help out the
Okay,
veterans.
is the part-time people going away?
No.
He's asking for it now, but it will if you don't approve it. So it's really up to you guys.
but the total cost, he's not increasing any cost for this department. In fact, I think he reduced overall.
He is now.
Oh, it's $20,000.
He's got the, what he's really increasing by, yeah, he's increasing by.
19,064.
Oh, okay.
The 10 for him, because he picked up 10 here, he's asking for 8 more here too. That's where he did the.
Yeah,
Oh, that's where it got.
yeah.
So yeah, he's asking for more part-time. You think he's really asking for 18,000 a part-time, but when he does that, whatever happens, he's really making 2% less than he would if he just went to.
Well, no, but I mean, I think the question that Jerry's getting at is the extra part-time.
Right.
You know,
Because my original thought on this was that it was gonna be mostly net. Like because he wasn't stepping up into that position, he added it to the part-time. And he was gonna keep that part-time position and give that 10,000 up.
Every bit of this right here is brand new money, which is this 19,000, or this minus that really comes to that. About 18,000. On top of that, he asked you guys for a part-time contractor that isn't in here. So yeah, he's asking for about 18,720 plus benefits, new dollars of part-time. And he asked for a contractor the other day, but,
Part-time is already at 10.
well, that's because he got it right here. He moved it there here during the year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's got it back over here, so
That's what
it's.
I'm
Yeah, but
like
that's,
that.
so what,
Yeah.
so I'm not, why is it back up there on the VSO? Did he give it?
Because he said he's going to give up the raise temporarily.
Yeah, so he wants the $10,000 back
Well,
and maintain the
Now, see,
10,000.
now
part-time.
that's, okay, so he gets his choice, right? Like,
It's either or.
it's an either or kind of thing. So if he wants the part-time personnel, he's able to give it up. And he can, I mean, I would say strike the 10,000.
I agree.
So let's do that. And then if he wants to,
Strike his 10,000, strike the part-time back to
I
zero.
think, wasn't that in his contract or something, employment agreement or something?
But they can't make him multi-year employment agreement without commission approval, it wouldn't stand. Where did he get
The increase was 18.
what employment agreement?
He signed something saying
Yeah,
he would go back to.
I thought I had this one, that it was,
He was wanting to have part-time employment permanent, and we didn't
Well,
give
I
it to
know.
him, and so he let his salary be reduced temporarily. It was going to come back in his budget
I
cycle
thought
and ask for
I
that
thought he
increase.
was gonna stay at that salary. And
To really to get you back where, if you want to give him his salary, it would be normal, it would be, and take out the part-time, you'd minus 18,720. That would put you pretty close to net, put the 1044 plus his cost of living, that pretty much do net you back.
So do that, say it
If
again.
you came here, maybe it's negative 18,720.
So you're talking about get rid of part-time altogether?
Yep, well, that puts you back where you're at, he didn't have any part-time.
That's what I'm saying.
But
That's
I
bringing
mean,
money.
but he want, I mean, so,
Yeah.
but I was looking at
He
this.
wanted the 10 back, that was what he's wanting, he's wanting to give it up temporary last year.
Well,
Okay, then yeah.
Put the 10 back.
Yeah, basically wherever he wants that 10,000,
Yeah.
he can put it in his own pocket
That's
or
right.
his part-time.
That's
pocket.
And then
right.
this number right here should be a little bit higher, because that way, when the cost of living moves, he would be
That's right.
making what this one does plus whatever you put in the cost of living. That would really put you back net zero. You want me to make that what you got?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, I think you, for now, what I would like to do is keep the part-time,
Okay.
because that's what he wanted to do originally.
He wanted to
And
do it
then,
for
but,
1 year.
but,
Oh,
but
he only
keep,
wanted it 1 year.
He wanted his, he wanted his salary back to normal this year.
well, but change that back.
I think for now,
You
we
can-
move the 10,000 to his line and zero out the part-time.
Well, I guess, I mean, well,
Either way.
I mean, I'd rather do it the
And
other
then-
way, but it
well,
doesn't really
yeah,
matter.
He can come back and ask us to change it back,
Yeah.
but wherever
And we
he
can,
wants
that's
that,
that's the choice he's gonna.
yeah, whichever line item he wants the $10,000.
So right now,
Either
since he
one.
originally requested for his to be back to normal when he talked about this, so you want us to make this a negative 18,720? That'll get rid of it?
I don't understand
I
the
don't know,
negative
I don't know,
18.
like, I would just take
I'm
out the
sorry,
eight,
what zero is that out, baby?
or take out,
Just hit
Hit
zero.
delete and see what it does. I'm sorry, just hit delete, it's minus 10,000, and then minus whatever's over there.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna change.
Yeah,
when you change
that's
your
it.
cost of living. Well, I put minus this, minus that, because that's gonna change when you change your cost of living. There you go, and then it'll interact with whatever they do for cost of living. And then the question is, right now, if you move him back, if you look, that number and that number is virtually the same.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's gonna be a question on this, and I can even speak to him about it. It said, look, you're gonna get your choice here. There's no point in worrying about the cost of living on this, I don't think, because it's immaterial.
Okay.
I mean, really.
I'm good with it.
Well, I was trying to get you back to zero if that's what you think, because he would.
I know he will, but he's a good man. I mean, he's a good man.
I'm just trying to make sure.
I mean, we're just, look, I know we're being harsh here, but we're doing it to everybody. All right, where we going next? Jeremy, where was it you wanted to go to?
County mayor.
Okay.
Haven't-
Where was that sheet that we had all of the ones, we go to county mayor next, but there was one where it was everything that was outside of the cost of
No, it
living.
was over here on this first.
Okay, that's where I was, all right,
So,
go ahead.
well, I was just looking at, the executive assistant to mayor, the old one that's minus out of 50,000, moved to a new one as far as the 59,000 executive assistant, and then it was bumping up, I guess, now to 60,000. And that just went, that's a, 20% increase on that. And I was just comparing, today is struggling on this, comparing finance department. I'm looking at senior assistant to finance director, 51, and just the normal COLA increase, but I'm just looking at, the longevity line there versus here. It just seemed like a disparity in bump for an employee we've had for a decade or more, to a new employee with that big of a jump in as far as the budget. This just struck out to me today. I'm having a.
What's the, I can't see it from here, so is it more than just the COLA?
Yeah, I'm just looking at total, what the salary was, I guess, last year, as far as that line item.
Which was what, 58?
50? 50, and that's been minused out.
Yes.
And so now it's it's changed title, is what it looks like to me.
No, same title.
Executive assistant, mayor, executive assistant, that's not the same title to me, so you help me understand that one, but. Okay, but I'm just
You
saying.
just
it's not-
showed it differently.
Well,
So
I'm
what's
just
that number
looking at-
say? Right
So it's just
there?
recaptured differently, but it's definitely, it's a 20% jump.
Does that say 59?
Oh,
Yeah.
I see, so okay.
I'm just looking at I'm
So
just
it went from
comparing
50
like,
to 59?
basically the same position, different offices, but different function. I just don't quite understand, especially in the finance department. It seems like it would be reversed to me, personally, if I'm just looking at,
What's the
because I know we've had to
column
increase some things
We
in the
have
finance
some
department.
underpaid employees, I can tell you that right now.
Do what?
Well, there's two issues here. One, we have underpaid employees, and number two, there's no guidance on what employees are hired, so like that
Well, I mean,
59, 360, that different one up there, that person has been here since 2006.
But that person is retired or quit, or
They actually working over the highway department now.
okay, so they've moved, so that's gone from the budget.
But yeah, I think there's probably.
Or it's just transferred over.
Probably, there's probably quite a disparity there's probably quite a disparity there. Yeah.
Well, I just heard you talking about earlier in this budget hearing about your department pay, how many hours worked, overloading, like, it just like
Yeah, we work a lot of overtime and we usually.
and you're talking, especially talking about payroll being one of those, like, we're not gonna burn that person out and lose them. I mean, that affects the whole county. I'm just looking at dollars and positions and longevity and seniority. I mean, just in positions, like what the work's actually being done.
And that position's low paid.
You're talking about the payroll ones, is that
No,
what
the
it is?
59.
Yeah, the senior, yes.
I
Well,
think
that,
that one's probably underpaid and then.
I was just,
I just didn't title
it was a little bit of a disparity to me. I'm trying to find parity in there. I was just listening to you talking about the finance department, getting concerned when you talk about
That's the problem.
the wheels running for the
I've had
budget.
a lot of turnover because their departments don't necessarily pay well.
Here's, I'm just trying to summarize here. So there's a position that went up $9,000.
20% jump.
Yeah. So,
And then I have a 10-year.
and what is,
Or actually more. Yeah, the problem, and then I have a 9-year employee that's probably on the same level.
so I mean, okay, so in that position is.
10,000 less.
That position is not, that position is not filled.
No, my position's full.
No, this position is,
That position's
This
full
one
now.
is, this one's not.
So the administrative assistant's not, it's an empty position?
Yes.
That one's empty.
Okay.
and that's the one that's going up to, I remember we talked about this, but now, so this one is going,
I don't, what, you talking about the administrative assistant, that's going up too? I don't see what's going up there.
Yeah, John asked for a $15,000 increase.
I'd ask to transfer some money over.
You know, you wanna jump that up to 60,000 too? As what?
Oh, is that from the
No,
other?
we were looking
sheet?
at jumping that up to 55.
Oh, so $10,000 jump? I mean,
We can pop out names.
I'm more concerned about the finance department, that's just, no offense, but I'm just,
And I agree, we have an issue that one's underpaid and now we do adjustments significantly. If this made worse. That one's
So what-
already,
so the issue here is that this one goes up, that there will be a discrepancy between.
go over here to the finance and then you can see.
well, I'm just looking at longevity and.
This person's been here 9 years.
We were just talking about new employees versus, like,
The one
you're talking about getting a raise or COLA for somebody who's not, who just got started, and you brought that up. And so I'm just looking at like, well, this is just on my, I'm just looking at these today because thankfully these are the only two that really are on these sheets.
And there's a lot of disparities across the whole county. This one I think is underpaid, and then on top of that, you know, if that other one comes in, it's gonna be much higher, or the one that came in is much higher than this one already.
What is the concern, so what is the, I guess, the question then, so there's two things. One, what's the rationale for bumping up that position? And
Or I guess two
what
positions.
duties, what's the rationale? And two, assume for a second it's needed. If it's not needed, we'll adjust for that. Assume for a second it's needed, then how much would it, what would we need to do to bring the other people in line? And what's the cascading effects, right? Like,
To bring this one in line, you probably need 10,000 more.
to bring,
Or the
The
finance.
ones, yeah, the finance.
The one I'm questioning
At
about.
least 10, because the other one's, about 60.
so when we're getting real close, we're not even down where we need to be yet. So what's the
Well,
rationale?
I mean, here's the rationale. We had this discussion. David Loyne has a revolving door of employees because he can't pay them enough. And, market, 60,000, not even touching market for an executive assistant. Then bringing someone else in to do the other job functions, 55 will be close to market. I lost the one at 44. She wanted more money.
So it's just market dynamics.
And it's just the market. I mean, that's just the way it is. And David validates that market with the fact that he can't keep employees.
And that's what I'm saying, if we do that, my only request is we do parity with that one to make sure we kind of keep them in parity.
And it also is validated with the last salary study.
And I
showing that
think-
they're all underpaid.
I mean, if you have, I mean, look, there is a point here. If you have somebody who left and you can't find somebody, and you know, and you've got people who are leaving, I mean, but then, you know, then we gotta lift everybody up, and that's gonna take us further away
Problem I've
from.
got, if I've got one that stays here with us
Can I,
and has the same thing and they're working long hours, it creates a parity issue.
I mean, can I incrementally split the difference, lower one by 5 and raise one by 5?
I mean,
I'm just-
you can
I'm
do
just-
whatever you want.
I'm just
We can see
looking
what-
at, I mean, I'm
see
just
the
trying
numbers play
to,
out.
it's,
You're gonna cut an existing employee by 5?
I think saying increase your position to 50 and then add
No,
5 in
you-
this position to kind of keep parity.
one is being, oh, you're saying that's already existing pay is at 5907. That's
Yeah.
existing.
The
right?
5907,
Yeah, was
yeah.
that-
So you're saying go from
And
40,
then-
from 45 to 50, and then.
I'm going 45 to 55.
Well,
leave
he's,
the
and he's
59.
saying split the difference. Go from 45 to 50,
And bring this
and
one
then
up.
bring you guys up.
5 to kind of.
5.
It gets it closer to 59.
You're bringing both of them up technically.
Right, but you're not bringing the one to 59 at all.
Wait,
Just making-
No, I'm talking about this admin assistant one. We got one that's being asked for another 10,000. I didn't know that. That was a new information. I was just,
Did we wipe those out? Is that why it's blank here? Like,
that's why, that's a good question.
there was nothing there? Okay.
No, it's just cost of living
He's
only.
asking to get rid of the part-time over.
All right.
But you would like, is that the one you?
That's the one where I've
mentioned
got
to bring
some money.
from?
So,
Yeah,
if
another
we're getting-
budget. What was that?
I'm just
The
saying,
new
It was,
employee is making 59,
59 for the same duty.
and then the one in finance is making 50.
yeah, the new employee is making 59 and the old employee is making 51. And, I mean, arguably they're doing the same thing, or I would say finance is doing more. I don't know, but I mean, there's just
And then the other
a
one-
disparity there that
We're
was.
talking bringing another one in at 55, which is making 51 makes it even worse.
Well, so I mean, I think, I'm just gonna make sure that what you're saying is 50 here, and then bring the one in the finance department up to parity.
56.
So instead of 10 for both, 5 for both. But
Correct. I mean-
5 additional for
Five
both.
apiece, right?
Can't be 50 and 56, you wanna be 53, 53.
She's at 51 right now, so it's not a.
Well, what he's saying is that.
I'm just saying a $5,000 increase.
Right,
You split the difference of that $10,000, but
because
each of
he's
them are
saying
getting
that
5.
One is a.
You're bringing them both up, but just not the
Is
level
one
everybody's
a-
wanting to get at the same
One has
time.
9 years, Jerry, and the one has 9 years is what we're saying.
Oh.
And the other one has 0.
I
It's
got
an,
you.
it's an
I
empty
got you.
position.
I got you.
So I'm just,
They had maybe 0 here, but maybe 9 years.
I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about,
So you got one at 9 years and one at.
we're talking about employee retention.
Is there any other, I mean.
No,
I
The
just
9 year
trying to
one
be-
a little more than 5, and then the other one just a little less. But you're
Well, you're
hiring.
trying to fill a position. It goes back to Mr. Hyde's comment earlier.
You understand where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I know. I see where
From
you're
a
going. I
salary
see where you're going. I mean, I'm
standpoint,
comfortable
the
with
salary
that.
for that line of
I've
work,
heard.
Yeah.
at least, initially to get them hired.
I mean,
The problem you've got if you've got somebody in a higher skill level and you bring them in more.
I'd rather just,
Turn over your discipline.
True.
And plus you've got an experience one in there, so.
I mean, what does an administrative assistant do that's, under an executive assistant versus like, the assistant to the finance director as far as like, I mean,
The assistant to the finance
Prepare the
director.
budget, all that.
I'd rather just take the $10,000 and boost it on the finance side, but I'm trying not to be unreasonable and unfair, but.
Look, what I'm trying to get at is get these numbers down, so let's
That's my
try.
third largest.
Well, I know, but we're only in this and before we move to capital, so I gotta stop you here. I mean, that's what I'm having a discussion.
Well, I don't know that we're where we need to be before we get to capital yet.
Well, true, but I'm just saying, I just wanted to,
Well, you've also got the nonprofit.
We got nonprofits.
24,000
This is the
part-time
last
mentioned over there
department,
in,
so let's do the 5 and 5 and see where we're at.
Okay.
Let's try that, and then let's go to nonprofits and.
But
Well, what
we
about
need,
the
we need to move
part-time
that
and
10 out of the
part-time. Well, I think
main.
you said the whole part-time, wasn't it? 15 out of it?
it was not coming out, it was coming out of another
It was
fund.
coming out of
Coming
his.
out of,
Three minus 15.
yeah, the maintenance, where the,
You said county buildings?
buildings.
Yeah,
Okay, so that-
Buildings fund.
Yeah, it was on the same part of the agenda.
But-
Over in finance.
Where was
Under
the
part-time.
custodian that we cut? Where was
That was
that?
same
Those
budget.
buildings.
The buildings.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah, the same budget.
okay.
Yes, the county buildings that we need to move that 10,000 out of there. So,
It doesn't create
okay.
a problem, that's my third
Thanks.
senior person thing.
Does
So
that,
that,
or
so that's a
That's
net
not- It's my
zero.
third highest team in person too, or they have the third largest number of years.
Should be.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to bring some parity.
Should be net
Should be net
zero.
zero.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this, but the fact that anybody in administrative in this building around that $44,000 income is making another 50% in bennies, does that even, you know, if it, I'm looking at archives, $44,000 income is a total loaded cost of $65,500. Those perks are real dollars. They certainly cost
Well,
less.
but they're flat, right? I mean, you're always gonna be, that 25.
Well, and those are net to everybody,
That's what I'm
so.
saying.
But other counties as well?
That's a great
I
point.
think,
We don't hire from other counties.
I think if you go the nonprofit.
Well, but the people who are talking about leaving are talking about
They're
going.
gonna have to balance the full pot, like the actual, what are my total dollars in my pocket?
I want to go to the county attorney's tab.
Yep.
What do we have like right now? What's that?
What you asking Jerry and I'll leave too?
No, I know, I'll just walk there.
Yeah.
So you say, I know what you're gonna say, you wanna keep, you wanna keep the law director flat for this year where we were, based on,
Well-
because we're negotiating the contract differently, and just
Yeah.
do COLA for everybody else.
To me,
Is that what
I
you're
would,
saying?
to me, on the surface, I would think the law director and I guess the attorney.
Hey Jerry, look closer.
But then I also have a problem comparing, the law director's salary to the judge's salary. Like again, with that, the $100 or the 100 hours worth of pay, vacation pay,
That was the same with the former.
which it sounds like you, when you renegotiated your contract,
I got rid of it.
you got rid of it because,
It is-
to me, I agree, that makes sense.
So I just roll it into sick time, don't
Yeah.
worry about it anymore.
So the law director here, what's the new number show? 197? So the law director is making, his salary is more than the judge's.
But the former one was too. Hers was the judge plus the 100 hours.
That's not what it was showing in here.
Yeah, hers is, Leah's been that young. She was the old session judge's act plus 100 hours last year. And, session judge was only making more than 80 something.
Well, 193 is what he gets paid.
Well,
That's what she.
No, that's his contract.
I mean, let's get real.
Well, on the other sheet, it's his contract.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying we should.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
plus,
they're not
it's the 193, 190, that's the same number. So you're saying his salary is the exact same as you? That wasn't my recollection.
They were within a few $100.
Hers was
Her salary was 193 last
So,
year.
so it was the same.
They were within a few $100.
So they're the exact same?
They were within a few $100.
Yeah.
Well, this is $1.
No, it's $1.
Well, no, they were real close.
Okay.
Here's the judge, you can see in the file.
So he's getting paid
Judge
$1
is
more.
173.
He was real close.
So, okay, so that was throwing me off because that's the number.
Oh, yeah, that was, basically you guys
I'm
were
right,
paying her the same,
I'm right on the
the same, except for he wasn't.
But I did for a
Her
while.
stays.
Correct.
He started the
In fact,
position.
it wasn't until about 10 years.
So then you get there.
That threw me off because, because I didn't know they were the exact same. Because during the discussion, is that just coincidence?
This was
No,
actually.
it was intentional, it was meant to be the no higher than.
This is actually.
But
Sort of, Jerry.
there was a lot of false information being promulgated out there.
No, I'm not.
This is what she made, this is what Eric made, there's very
I'll just
little
say that.
difference right
There's people
there,
who are
and
just
then we
wrong.
netted the difference in here the way, that adjusted.
I know, yeah, I
You had to
know,
make
I
that
know the exercise,
$100.
I'm just letting this
That way it
exercise
makes us
play
$100.
out.
Well, it just takes.
For everybody to see.
Into account whatever this salary is plus the 2% to come up with $100, because
The difference is, we're not automatically increasing
So that-
it like the other,
She didn't make it.
we actually did something even.
She made this, is her.
Yeah,
Let's just let this play out.
So,
We're gonna take a
so
little break right
is
now.
column M,
Let me check work emails.
2%, yeah.
okay, so is column P
In
2%?
fact, after this, we're going to
No, that's the difference on that 100 hours.
5-minute break after this.
Well,
Push through.
Because
think of
you
mine.
vary between 280
That's the way, no.
It's the year will have 280 days one day.
Might be Cinco de Siesta, by the time we're through.
So,
I'm tired, I got
Or the siesta.
This is just a form of this number.
So while while this is playing out, 5-minute break, 8-minute break.
because the days vary, there's like.
We'll let them work,
260 or 61 work
They
days.
do their cycle.
No, leap year you can have 262, so we had to come
Yes,
up
sir.
with his 100 days of work. It'll vary a little bit. It's weird because of that, everybody says 52 weeks or 52 weeks and 1 or 2 days.